They called it the Stevie Wonder Blunder. $187,000 from 15 different clients. Stole $9 million with a fake Alicia Keys concert. Shaun White convinces her, sell me your Arrow key for $2,000. So we doing this?
We're ready. We're rolling.
We doing this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Hello, Matt Cox.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. Do you cut that out?
I think I'll leave him in. I'll leave him in. Yeah.
You should leave it in.
It's the immediate. It's the you're completely uninterested in anything I'm saying, and then Colby says, "Okay, we're rolling." Hello, Matt Cox.
We were talking about other guests on the show. I'm a jealous man. I want to be your one and only, Matt.
So, what are we here for today?
I got some crime stories for you.
That's great.
Some of them involve me. Some of them do not involve me. Last 2 times I came with a theme. One time I came with stories about airplanes. One time I came with stories about women.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit of everything. Maybe if we had a theme, it'd be lawyers, guns, and money, because I got stories about all 3.
Okay.
Okay. Should I just launch right into it?
Yeah, absolutely. What's the first one?
You ever been to Maui?
I have been to Maui.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, it was yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I was an FBI agent in Honolulu. And the cool thing about being an FBI agent in Honolulu is you get to travel to the other islands to work cases. And what's cool about that is that Hawaii, unlike Florida or any other state, when you're traveling on business there's not like a Hampton Inn downtown that you stay in. You're staying at like a resort.
Right.
Right. And so it's kind of an amazing, it's the best business travel experience I've ever had, because you're staying at a resort. The guy, you walk down to the pool to have dinner at the pool bar or whatever, and the couple had been saving up their whole lives to go on this vacation or their honeymoon, for example. And you're just there on a business trip. And so it's always a very good deal for me. So there was a woman in Maui named Jedidah Dwaro-san.
What is that? What's that?
Filipina.
Okay.
Filipina, yeah.
And I'm shocked you can say that. I'll never be able to say that.
And I believe it's biblical.
Okay.
Which, of course, you wouldn't know about. And
Okay.
she decided to start soliciting investments from friends of hers and people in her church. She said that she had an inside track to invest money with high guaranteed, risk-free, yields. She was going to be investing in an oil well and a gold mine in Indonesia.
This sounds very solid.
Matt Cox, what could go wrong?
I don't know.
About a dozen of her friends and church members and all that all invest. She gets $800,000 from that.
Out of a dozen people, she gets $800,000.
Yeah.
Okay, these people are $50,000 to $100,000 investments.
Yeah, some more than others. I think there were a couple real big fish in there.
Okay,
but again, guaranteed rates of return. This woman's in their church. She would never lie to them.
Anybody
right?
who says guaranteed, it's already a scam.
It's risk free money. It's going to blow up. But anyway, I think you're spoiling it a little bit, because what actually happened, Matt Cox, is that she did not, in fact, invest the $800,000 in gold mine and oil wells in Indonesia. She paid down her own credit card debt, which was pretty substantial to her credit.
Right.
She went on a lot of shopping sprees, and she made a deposit on a plot of land in Maui that was not refundable. So she lost I think $200,000 from that. I don't even know how that worked, but they you had to come up with the rest of the money. By that point, she'd already spent it down, and
she ran out of church members.
Non-refundable deposit, exactly. So what happens when these people do not start getting their investment returns? Who do they call?
They call the FBI.
They call the FBI in Honolulu, and I get the case. So I was pretty new there at the time. It was my first time going to Maui. Pretty good deal, right? So I hop on a little plane, 45-minute flight to Maui, check into the hotel. It's this amazing resort in the ocean. You, the taxpayers, covered that for me because there's no other place to stay. And, and I go and interview the victims. Mm-hmm. They all tell me pretty much consistent stories. Get the financial records, take a look at that. It all checks out. What happened to the money? She's just pissing it away on herself. And so then it's time to go talk to Jed.
Right.
So I go to her house, knock on the door. The Filipinos in Hawaii tend to all have many, many people, extended family members.
I almost thought you said look-alike.
No.
Okay.
No.
You said they all.
They live together, is what I'm saying. They have sizable houses because many of them are in the trades, and so they build extensions on the house and stuff like that. And there's many people living under the same house, who are family members, type friends, aunties, stuff like that. And knock on the door. Is Jedidah home? No, she's not here right now, which is kind of sucks, right? I hate it when they're not home because then you immediately have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Do I leave my business card and then the next thing you know, I'm getting a call from a criminal defense attorney, or do I slink away and just kind of come back later?
Right.
And this time I left a business card because this case is going to get made with or without Jedida.
Right.
And,
She's done. She's done. Yeah. There's too much evidence that people deposit money and she spent it on herself.
So I leave my business card and I drive over to like Maui Mall to kind of kill some time. And then I get a call on the cell phone and it's Jedida. Can I help you, sir? Jedida, I need to talk to you. Can you meet me somewhere? Or can I come back over to the house? She goes, well, it's real crowded here. A lot of family living here. Why don't I meet you somewhere? There's a restaurant chain, very popular in Hawaii called Zippy's. It's like a Denny's. It's like a Denny's if Denny's serves Spam.
Okay.
And Spam's a real delicacy.
It's a big thing there.
Yeah, they eat it unironically.
Yeah.
And so we go to Zippy's. We get a table. Got to order something. Plate of fries. We're going to share a plate of fries and some ketchup. And I interrogate her right there at the booth.
And this is just you? Is there somebody else with you?
I had to bring someone with me. I also had a new agent.
Okay.
No. There's 2 agents stationed in Maui. I had another agent with me, just kind of doing a ride along.
Yeah.
He knew nothing about the case. He's just there in case I keel over.
Yeah.
And,
Well, because I was wondering too, you're knocking on the door. Like there's always 2 agents. So.
Yeah. It was me and an agent named Steve who's stationed in Maui. And I said, you don't even need to know about the case. Just be there and avenge me if she kills me. So we're eating. I asked her about the investment. She's kind of going on and on about this went wrong and that went wrong. And I said, stop, listen. And I go, you took the money and you spent it on yourself. And I go, maybe you thought that something would come through, but you told these people you were going to be investing their money in gold and an oil well. And when you get their money, you do something different with the money. You pay down your credit card debt. And she's like, yeah, but I had other ways. I was going to maybe pay them back later. And they just got impatient and just a lot of excuses. And I said,
it's their fault.
It's always their fault. And I said, I get it. I go, there's no way on God's green earth you went into this with the intent to steal their money. But after you realized you had the money, then maybe you took a look at your life and took a look at the tremendous financial hardship that you've been facing lately. And you thought, this is my way out, and maybe I'll be able to make some money to pay them back. And is that fair to say? And yeah. And I go, and then when it came time to take more money from other people, that was probably, then it kind of got away from itself, right? Because she wasn't even paying them returns. This wasn't even a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
And so.
It's just theft.
Right. So we take, I'm taking notes. I go, let's write this out. And so we kind of write out her version of the story in first person, turn it over. We review the statement together. She's like, I don't really like the way you said that. And so I'm happy to cross that out and write up her version of it on top. And I have her initial at the top and the bottom of the page and initial at the crossouts we do. And I have her sign the bottom while we're eating fries together at Zippy's. And then she signed the confession. I thanked her very much. She said, what happens next? I said, it's not up to me. I got to take this case to my supervisors, got to take this case to the prosecutor, and then we'll figure out where we go from here. And then I shook her hand. I took her photo. I said, listen, this is going to seem kind of weird. I need to get a photo of you. She goes, why? And I go, in case you disappear.
Right.
And I go, and so I pull out my phone and I go, no one ever smiles when I do this. And I go, but if you're allowed to smile, you look great. You're a beautiful woman. And so she gives me this big smile. She's sitting there at the counter and at the booth. Take a photo of her. Thank her so much. We get in our respective cars and leave. A month later, came back, arrested her, brought her back to Honolulu.
Oh my God! What does the FBI agent with you say? Does he walk off and say, "Wow, you just got her to sign the confession"?
Yeah. I mean, I got that a lot from my colleagues. Right. I was really good at getting the confession throughout the course of my career. Because I went to FBI interrogation schools, went to CIA interrogation schools. I taught interrogation. I teach interrogation now to kind of regulators and internal auditors and people like that. And so the agents often, who I don't know really well, who are riding along with me, are like, you're really smooth at getting that. But it's all about building rapport and trying to see the world through their eyes. Empathy is the thing, right? And so
you can fake that.
Empathy is real. Sympathy needs to be faked. Empathy does not. Empathy is my ability to see the world through your eyes. Sympathy is me feeling sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for her, but can I see the world through her eyes? Can I imagine the rationalizations that she tells herself that allows her to look in the mirror every day, knowing that she's ripping off these people from her church? I can imagine that. I can imagine that. You can imagine that too. How much time are you going to give Jedida after she pleads guilty, Matt Cox?
Does she? I already know the answer to this. She has no criminal history.
No criminal history.
Okay.
She's like, at this point, like a home healthcare nurse.
I mean, she changed churches. No. Let me think. How much?
800,000.
Wonder what she was thinking.
Dozen victims.
Wonder what she was thinking. Like, hey, there's a lot of churches around here. I can hit if I can get all of them for 800,000. But she's not even trying to maintain the Ponzi or the scam.
The ultimate
800,000?
acceptance of responsibility as well.
Right.
Like, showed no resistance. Literally did not have to meet with me at all. Decided to come to Zippy's with me and sit down and share a plate of fries. How much time are you going to give Jedi Doro-san, Matt Cox?
I want to say below 2 years.
Final answer?
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years?
All right, 1 for 1. I'm
Right?
keeping track today. 1 for 1.
We get the Matt Cox scorecard. Good.
Okay, well, I said below, but that's fine. 2 years or below. Let's go with that.
All right.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm good. I'm happy with that. That seems and I don't know, it's probably there's a bunch of people who say it's she deserves more time, and but I don't know.
Yeah. She was also ordered to pay restitution to her victims, and I promise you not a penny of that was paid.
Yeah, well, and now she's a felon, and everybody knows what she did. Mm-hmm. It's a small community,
real small.
Yeah, I think and she's on probably paper for 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Usually,
yeah. Yeah, I think that nobody's ever trusting her again with their money. I don't know.
Yeah, not going to be a frequent flyer.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I am curious to know if she, and we can move on after this. I'm curious to know, was there really an investment, or she just come up with it? It was just straight fucking graft, just straight.
I think there might have been some opportunity presented to her. She heard somebody. It was nothing that was ever going to be realized.
I just can't believe.
I also think though that this land in Maui, she had some intention to do something with it, right. But it was the last $200,000, not the first $200,000 that she was able to put down,
right?
And so, and then she lost that money. Just pissed it away, really, because it was a non-refundable.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah. You a fan of Stevie Wonder?
I've listened to his music. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I, same age. We grew up with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, right? I definitely have listened to his music.
You ever seen him live?
No.
Yeah, me neither. No.
But I've seen videos.
Yeah, sure. I was really excited.
Right?
Yeah, no, continue. This is your show.
Yeah.
I was super excited to see Stevie Wonder live.
Okay.
When it was announced that he was coming to Hawaii. And Hawaii doesn't get a lot of good concerts.
Okay.
Because it's so goddamn far from anywhere else. You don't get imagine the infrastructure that would go on into bringing in a Coldplay or someone like that, all the instruments, all the equipment, all that to play at a stadium.
On an 18-wheeler and drive it in here.
People do go there, but it's usually on their way to or from a Japanese tour.
Okay.
Right. So we were all super excited when it was announced that Stevie Wonder was going to be coming to Honolulu to play a benefit show for the University of Hawaii Athletic Department.
Okay.
Right? It was amazing. It was announced on TV. Everybody was...
Sounds off.
I
Is he a big fan of... I don't see Stevie Wonder being a fan of athletics. He can't watch them. He can't participate in them.
the University of Hawaii Athletic Department's got a problem on their hands, right? Because they have this terrible football team, and yet they have this tremendous expense. Again, Hawaii is probably the most remote, occupied place on planet Earth, and their away games cost them a fortune, right? You got to fly the entire football team to California or Nevada or wherever they happen to be playing. And so they're constantly strapped for money in their athletic department. It's not a moneymaker for them. And the team's also terrible, despite having the most significant home field advantage in college sports, right? Because everyone else is flying around the world to go play against the University of Hawaii at the home games. You'd think the team would be able to somehow leverage that, but they're always terrible.
Right.
Okay. So the fact that Stevie Wonder himself was going to be injecting himself into the University of Hawaii Athletic Department to play a concert there was going to be amazing. It was going to make the university flush with money. And tickets go on sale. And people I know, FBI agents I know, were getting friends together to hey, I'm going to go get 8 tickets. You want in? And getting tickets for each other.
Did you get tickets?
I did not. I was out of town.
Oh, okay.
But that's a whole other story. And then what happens is Stevie Wonder's manager gets a Google alert on her phone. He's got a manager and an agent. The manager kind of like a handler for him. And gets a Google alert on his phone that these tickets have gone on sale. she calls the agent over at like William Morris and says, "Hey, do you know anything about a show in Hawaii?" And he goes, no one's booked a show in Hawaii. I mean, they would have the contract and all that.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know anything either. And Stevie Wonder doesn't know anything about it. And so the agent contacts the University of Hawaii, like general counsel's office, says, we don't know anything about this.
Right.
And the University of Hawaii is like, we paid a $200,000 down payment to bring Stevie Wonder in.
Ooh.
And he's like, who'd you pay that to? And he gives them the name and all that. And so eventually they call the FBI, and this case lands on my desk.
Okay.
And it's up to me to figure out how this occurred.
Where was the money wired? Follow the money.
Thank you. You're good at this. So it started with the money was wired to a guy named Sean,
Okay.
who lives in Miami. But he was from England, like a British guy living in Miami. And then from Sean's bank account, I see that like Sean kept like $80,000 on it, bought his girlfriend a Mercedes with the money, and sent $120,000 of the money to a guy named Mark in North Carolina, who is more of a club promoter than a concert promoter.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some other stuff going on. Bottom line is we're trying to understand what happened. It took me a while to follow the money. I mean, I'm telling the story in 2 minutes, but I'm subpoenaing bank records and things like that. This is evolving over time. And
do these guys know this is happening?
What's happening is that the president of the University of Hawaii calls Sean and says, "What's going on here? Right. My athletic department just wired $200,000 in taxpayer funds, right? Because it's a state school." To you, who is your contact with Stevie Wonder? Because there seems to be some confusion about whether Stevie Wonder is aware of this show or not. And he's like, well, I can't really tell you my contact with Stevie Wonder. I have back channels to him. And so he's kind of playing games, talking about how that information's privy to me, but I can't share that with you. That's how I make money, is because I'm connected to people in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. But as far as we're concerned, this show is happening and your next installment payment's going to be coming in its own. They're like, well, all right. The president of the university had contacted me ahead of time, and so we recorded that call where the Sean fellow is kind of doing the song and dance, like, oh yeah, no, that money's good. The show's going to happen, and so bottom line is we end up arresting Sean and Mark and seizing the vehicle. Sean bought his girlfriend, took it from his girlfriend, and she broke up with him subsequently, And these guys had no contact whatsoever with Stevie Wonder. It's still to this day unclear to me exactly what the end game was when there's going to be a stadium full of people stomping their feet saying Stevie, Stevie, mm-hmm. and he doesn't come out. And but they just took the money and pissed it away. I mean, Mark Hubbard, for the 120 that he got, he just used it to pay down bills that he had. So but it gets there's an epilogue. Uh-huh. So these guys are both pointing the finger at each other. Sean is saying it was Mark's fault. Mark said he could book Stevie Wonder. Mark is saying, hey, this is your show, Playboy. I got nothing to do with this. And so these two have now turned against each other. Sean comes in and agrees to cooperate against Mark. Sean pleads guilty to his part of this thing and agrees to cooperate against Mark, who got most of the money, even though Sean was the one who initially received the money and lied to the university president. We're still only talking $200,000 here, though. Yeah. And so then it comes out that Mark had done this in the past with a fake Alicia Keys concert, which didn't help. And while this seems like a relatively...
Was he prosecuted on that one?
No.
Oh, wow. So that
I believe there was a civil suit and he owed people money.
That was the problem.
See, they were taking investors on that one. This one, the actual university was the investor who put a down payment on it. So I believe that was the difference between the two cases. And so... So Sean cooperates against Mark, and I guess the other thing I want to point out, even though this is a relatively short story to tell, and this caused so much problems at the University of Hawaii. The president of the university ended up having to resign in disgrace. I believe the athletic director was put on administrative leave. they called it the Stevie Wonder blunder. It was in the news every single night because there's no crime in Hawaii. So and anything to do with a celebrity in Hawaii is big news, and anything to do with a university is big news because there's the only game in town.
Right.
And so it was embarrassing to the university that they screwed this thing up and actually never did any due diligence to find out if Stevie Wonder's really in the link. It'd be like you or I just cold calling the university. So Sean cooperates against Mark. Mark ends up pleading guilty as a result of that. How much time do Sean and Mark get?
So
Sean got $80,000 of the money.
Right.
Mark got $120,000 of the money.
Right, but Mark did not.
Mark was waiting to the morning of jury selection before he pled guilty.
Okay. Yeah. So, I'm gonna say Sean gets, let's say, less than 90 days or less. I would say that Mark gets less than 2 years. 2 years or less.
Okay.
Is that?
Well, you're good on Sean. Sean cooperates against Mark. He gets 2 months in prison and then deportation back to England, where he's from.
Okay.
Right, because he's not a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Mark, the judge really threw the book at him. I think because the damage that he caused in this thing far outweighed the $180,000 or whatever, $120,000 that he got. He got 5 years in prison.
Whoa.
And I think the judge looked at the Alicia Keys concert that never happened and counted that against Mark.
What do they call that? Something
404B, like other bad acts.
Yeah. I was gonna say they can
relevant conduct.
Relevant conduct. That's what I'm thinking. Relevant conduct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's harsh, but he was whatever, unrepentant, probably plenty repentant while he's being sentenced. But he waited till the day of jury. Like he's trying.
Oh, the other thing he did that really pissed off the judge is he pleads guilty. And then, like, right before sentencing, he tries to withdraw his guilty plea.
He's playing games.
Mm-hmm. That was the perception of the judge. I remember that now because we were gearing up for potentially another trial if the judge granted that. But the judge did not allow him to withdraw his guilty plea.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'd say probably would have said 3 years. 5 years seems excessive, but no big deal.
And I never got to see Stevie Wonder in concert.
No.
But then again, he never got to see me. So
oh, that's so wrong.
Offsetting penalties.
Okay.
You ever been under surveillance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it? You feel like you're pretty good at keeping your eye out for surveillance and people following you even to this day? Did it last and create an impact on you?
No, because I didn't notice. It was actually one of my mortgage brokers that actually realized they're like came in one day and said, so there's a cop. He's like, there's somebody across the street in a car watching us. He was there yesterday. He's there today. He's been there for several hours. And this office I had was right across the street from the post office.
Okay.
He's sitting. So there's this huge post office parking lot.
Right.
Then the post office. So here's the main street, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not parked. Like you got this huge parking lot. He's parked right here, right next to the street. Like you could, if you're going to the post office, you would park close to it. It's completely empty. There's not a lot of action in the post office.
Yeah.
And he's watching, he's watching. And so I was like, nah, but I mean, hours go by and hours go by. And you could see him like, what are you doing? Spending hours in your car. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't that far away. And if you notice, like you wouldn't notice him unless you were looking.
Right. And
so one of my brokers went over there to talk to him to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And as he approached him, as he's walking, the guy's got the window down. And as he's walking over towards him, he's looking at him and he says, he's like, hey, bro, he's like, are you watching us across the street? Why are you approaching me? Don't approach me.
Oof.
And he said, what? He goes, do not approach me.
The guy's poorly trained.
Oh, he said, so
this is police officer or an agent?
No, this is police. This is the local police.
Right.
This is, and he says, do not approach me, get in your vehicle, go away. Now that's what my broker told me he said.
Right.
I later found out my broker, they had a brief conversation. And as far as what ended up coming from that conversation was he gave him his business card. Because I didn't, he came back. He said, yeah, he told me not to approach him. He said, I can't talk to you.
So he was lying.
I think my broker was lying.
Yeah.
Because later, one of my other brokers told me, the guy's name was Dominic, by the way, that had approached him. He was like, Dominic, I got that guy's business card, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he talked to him. Because we're all watching.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he did? He's like, yeah, he got his business card for some reason. So I'm assuming that Dominic basically went up to him and said, hey, bro, like if you're watching the thing, give me your business card. I'll call you later. Something like that.
Yeah.
Dominic has been in this situation before. He ran a used car lot where the owner was being investigated. They had approached Dominic. This is a state thing where the FDLE had approached him, and the owner of the company was not paying some kind of tax related to cars. So he was faking the stamp or something that you get to save money on every transaction. Something was happening, but they had approached him because he's just a manager there.
Right.
Like, hey, this is what's happening.
So he knows the drill about cooperating.
So he knew to cooperate.
Yeah.
So he cooperated immediately with that guy. And it's funny too, because once I went to prison, there was another case that he was involved in where he cooperated in that case too. He's never been found guilty. Wow. And on my case, he's listed as an unnamed co-conspirator on my indictment. He's never. So yeah, I've been that, and then I've been followed before multiple times. I was followed on the interstate one time.
Okay, did you know you were followed, or did you wait to the discovery and then you see it in the,
Once
in
again,
the log?
I did. No. This time I knew.
Okay.
This time I knew too.
You saw somebody in the rearview mirror,
but I didn't. The guy that was driving said, this guy. There's a guy following us. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, there's a guy following us. I said, no. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm telling you, he's been following. And then so finally I said, we were driving. And he said, you want me to try and lose him? I was like, I don't know. We're on I-75.
Yeah.
So as we're driving, I said, you know what? I said, I don't think this guy's following us. I said, you know what? Pull over and stop on the interstate.
Yeah.
Pull over and just stop. He's like, all right. Pulls over, boom, stops, bam. The guy drives right by, and I thought, yeah, we're fine. And then he pulls over and stops.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, no.
See, the risk of losing someone like that is that they don't close the case out and say, like, well, I guess we're not ever going to get Matt Cox.
Yeah.
They begin putting, trackers, drones. They stop using humans to follow you. Yeah, they're not giving up. I did a lot of surveillance when I was an FBI agent. And it was great. When you're an FBI agent, it's fantastic because you have a lot of people usually who are on the surveillance team, and you're able to kind of hand off what we call the eye to the next person.
I would think it'd be boring.
It is boring, but it's possible to get successful evidence. My point is this. It's boring. It's really boring because most of the time you're sitting there watching a car that never drives or a door that never opens. But once you're actually moving, it's kind of nice because it's almost like a dance where I'm going to follow this guy for 2 or 3 blocks, and then I'm going to peel off and take a right turn, and the next car behind me is going to have the eye on him following that. And it's just kind of a very elegant process where the person's never going to see the same car bumper locked behind them for an 8-hour period while they're driving around committing crimes, hopefully. As a private investigator working alone, you're getting burned all the time because you're alone.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're just hoping that this idiot doesn't look in their rearview mirror. But the good news is that most people don't pay very close attention to who's behind them in traffic. I suspect that some percentage of the people watching or listening to the show right now are doing it in their cars. And I would challenge them to think about, without looking in your rearview mirror right now, viewer, who's behind you and how long has that car been behind you? Most people aren't going to know. Mm-hmm. Got a particular case I want to tell you about. Matt Cox.
Okay.
Had a dirty prison guard at the local prison in Hawaii, the Halava Correctional Institute. He was smuggling drugs into the prison. He would meet like the girlfriend of the prisoner, take money from her, take drugs from her, bring drugs into the prison, and then bring the drugs to that person and keep the money.
All right.
Right. I'm told there was some ice. And he was also smuggling a drug that I did not know existed before that called K2, a synthetic weed.
Yeah.
You familiar with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very excited. It's everywhere in prison.
It's not allowed though, right?
No.
All right, just making sure. I'm not crazy. Okay.
No, it's actually a chemical, and guys would you'd have somebody
spice or whatever
mail you a book, and the guy would be like, "I'm going to mail you a book, and I'm page 122." They'd spray the page with 122, so they'd get a book mailed in. They could tear out the book and roll up things and smoke it because it was like a chemical.
Yeah, evidently. Yeah. I mean, again, this is all news to me, but this was not my case. A much better looking and smarter agent, a guy named Jeff Fellman, who just retired, shout out to Jeff Fellman, was the case agent, but I was on the squad. So I was doing a lot of surveillance in this case. So one of the prisoners had the bright idea to cooperate with the FBI. And he was going to have his girlfriend on the outside pay Mark, the prison guard, and give him drugs repeatedly in exchange for trying to get a deal for her man on the inside. That makes sense?
I've seen it happen several times.
Right. So she's the one who's really doing the cooperating. And
third party Rule 35.
Yeah, there you go. And so we were, and this Mark guy was like a bodybuilder, like a steroid guy who would go to Gold's Gym every day and work out. And so we knew his schedule because we'd been surveilling him for a while. And I was going to be on surveillance. And the idea was that I was going to take him to a drug deal with this cooperating girlfriend from the Gold's Gym to the cooperating girlfriend, see if he stops and picks up drugs or does.
You were going to follow him?
Yeah.
Okay. You said take him, but
I'm sorry. That's how we describe it. Yeah. I mean, I'm taking him to work. I'm taking him here. I'm following him. I'm sorry. FBI talk. And so I'm going to be following him. And we got maybe one or two other cars with me. It's not a real tight surveillance because we know exactly where he's going to be and when he's going to be there. But we wanted to see if he stopped anywhere to pick up dope from someone else.
Right.
Okay. So that's the setup. FBI cars have these amazing, like walkie-talkie radios in them, like CBs.
Right.
But they're bouncing off of repeaters. It's a giant, huge piece of machinery in the trunk of the car with the actual thing inside the car that's like connected to the electrical system of the car, where I could talk and literally talk to someone in like Maui or Kauai or really far away, because it's a very powerful CB radio in the car. And but I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to electronics and stuff like that. So it was a beautiful day in Hawaii, as it often is. I'm sitting there in the mall parking lot, watching the front door of the Gold's Gym, waiting for Mark to come out to go to this drug deal. I turn off my car, but I turn it on so I can, have the radio on and have my the FBI radio, the BuCar radio, and I'm talking. And I'm talking to people, and then and I think, well, I bet I should probably start the car. I start the car. The battery is dead. Having the car battery on, draining in this powerful radio in the car, the CB, drained my battery dry. Now I'm panicking, right? And I'm like, I look in my trunk. I don't have jumper cables. I don't have one of those like charge boxes. The other agents there, I'm trying to call them on the cell phone. No luck. And I'm like really panicking at this point. I pop the hood to the car. I'm seeing, is there anything I can do? No, it's definitely a dead battery. I'm like watching the front door. He's going to be coming out any time from the Gold's Gym. And so, I call someone I know in the area. Can you come over to the mall and jump my car? Yeah, I'm on my way. And so, but then as my relief is going to come to give me a jump start, who comes walking out but Mark?
Right.
With some big musclehead buddy. They see me there with my hood up. Walks up to me. He goes, "You okay, bro? You need a jump start?"
I should do.
I go, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm waiting for my dad. He's getting dialysis over there at the dialysis center, and my battery just totally died. And I'm just hoping he doesn't see any FBI shit in my front, in the inside. But the hood's up. We're kind of standing.
There's a picture of him on a clipboard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, there literally was inside the car, and I'm trying to play it cool, and I'm like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do, and he's like, I got my truck right here. I'll jump start the car. Dude pulls up to me in front of the car. Nicest guy in the world. Jump starts my car. I said, "Can I give you anything for this?" He goes, "No, man, just pay it forward." He shakes my hand. I close the hood. He gets in his truck. I get in my car. I follow him to a drug deal.
Oh my God.
He does the drug deal, takes the dope into the prison. A week later, I go to his house and I'm doing the search warrant at his house, pulling like barrels of cash out of like the sock drawers and stuff like that. He doesn't even recognize me.
Really? Did you ever say anything to him? Like, do you remember me?
No. It wasn't my case. I wasn't in charge of interviewing him and all that.
Did you tell the other FBI agents?
Like, they knew.
What'd they think? Laughing? Or?
They couldn't believe this occurred. What bad luck, blah, 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 blah. And
I think it's good luck. I mean, you learn not to shut the car off.
Oh yeah, it was a teachable moment for me, for sure. How much time are you going to give Mark?
How much? What was he charged with as far as dope?
I don't know. This is where it gets a little fuzzy. I don't think it was a ton. Again, it wasn't my case. So
Bringing in contraband.
yeah, it basically consider it more contraband. I don't think we ever intercepted any ice going in. It was mostly K2 and contraband and stuff that he shouldn't have. He's taking a lot of money, in the form of bribes. I think that was part of what he was charged with as well.
Between 3 and 4
He
years.
lost his job.
Yeah, between what, 3 and 4 years?
Final answer?
Yeah.
4 years, 8 months.
At least I'm in 4 years. That's,
Yeah.
You good?
I'd say that's approved.
You're getting good at this. You're getting good at this. You're going to knock the cover off the ball. All right. You ever seen the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis up north?
I'm not in person.
You familiar with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, of course. It's it's radiation, or the streams of radiation coming off of the sun striking the right.
Yeah, I mean,
And it
I
lights up.
don't pretend to know the science behind it. I was way up in Canada once and stayed up all night watching it, and it was amazing. It was like a fireworks show, but pure nature, right?
Yeah.
So there's a resort up in Alaska, a town called Salcha, Alaska. You ever been to Alaska?
No.
Me either. Thinking of doing an Alaska
Nobody goes
cruise,
on,
maybe
on purpose.
Maybe do a cruise or something like that. See the mountains, Eskimos, igloos. Salcha, Alaska. Got to figure it's pretty far up high. All of Alaska is. And there was a guy who owned the Old Midway Lodge. A couple, actually. Brian Corty and his wife, Candy Corty. Candy was a big girl. Not that it matters, but I know you like to paint a visual picture for your viewers.
Whenever I think of did you ever think remember the show Northern Lights?
No, Northern
Exposure.
It was a good
Northern
show.
Exposure.
It was a good show.
Great show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good show. So the Cortys had this idea. It was a brilliant idea. They were going to take this lodge that wasn't really doing very well, that they owned, and they were going to convert it to a marijuana theme park where people could come to this lodge, smoke, and then watch the northern lights while high. Okay, this was going to be their bud and breakfast.
I'm assuming that it's legal to smoke pot in
I
Alaska.
think this must have been after it was legalized in Alaska. I don't. There's no drug charges in this story. So,
Okay.
It was going to be their Disney weed, and they had this resort plan. And so they go out and begin soliciting investments to fund this fantastic, can't lose idea. Because there is a weed culture in America. I know that you're not a user and I'm not a user, but but people out there, with this opportunity might actually take the trip to go to this Disney weed.
I feel like those people are not going to Alaska to do this. I don't feel like those are people that have the funds or enough. Regardless, I also feel like none of this money went into this project. But go ahead. Either way, great. Let's say it's a great idea.
All right. So 22 different investors
Okay.
give him $722,000.
How are these people raising this money? This is insane.
Well, here's the thing. They were promised that their money was going to grow 30-fold.
Okay.
Right?
Well,
You
once
invest
again,
$1,000, you're getting $30,000 back. That's how confident they were that Disney weed would work out.
Is this really Disney weed?
No, but that's kind
Okay.
of that's how they're
Grass.
hyping it.
Oh, sorry. Disney grass? Disney grass?
I think the problem with Disney weed is not the weed part; it's the Disney part. That's what's going to get you in trouble. But no, this is their bud and breakfast. Their Old Midway Lodge. So they get $722,000. Brian and Candy are stoked. So they take that money and they start using it to pay down their credit card debt and to go on some vacations. Candy got to swim with the dolphins.
Okay.
It's a very good deal for Candy. She
Yeah.
got to swim with the dolphins. And but their theme park never developed. Right? And so the
So the 30-fold?
30-fold never happened. No one got their 30-fold back. In fact, everyone lost their principal investment, $722,000. They might as well have lit it on fire for all the good it did them. So what do? They call the FBI, who opens an investigation.
The investors.
Not my case, the investors. Yeah, investors complain. I was on the receiving ends of a lot of complaints like this. This wasn't my case, but investors are very quick to complain. People say, where do you get your cases? I go, the investors will let you know if they got defrauded. And so they bring charges, wire fraud charges against Brian and Candy. Problem's this, and we alluded to this earlier in a conversation we had off air. The case against Brian's a slam dunk. The case against Candy is less so, right? She's enjoying the money. She's swimming with the dolphins. She's sharing a bed with Brian.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
But Brian's the one who's kind of wheeling and dealing and handling all the money and stuff like that. She's just spending it.
Right.
It's a tough case against her.
Yeah.
Right? So they decide maybe we can induce a plea by playing Let's Make a Deal with
Right.
Brian. Brian pleads guilty, and they drop the charges against Candy.
Okay, how about I get a better deal? How about I'm Brian and I cooperate against Candy because she was the ringleader and she was the brains behind this whole operation.
I think you're discounting love.
Yeah, love fades quick when you spend 4 years in prison or 3 years in prison. Whatever he's going to end up getting. Well, does he plead guilty?
He pleads guilty. They drop the charges against Candy. I don't know. I'm assuming she stood by her man and waiting for him to get out. How much time?
Wait, Candy was a big girl.
She's a big girl.
She probably stood by him.
Yeah.
She probably did stand by him.
Yeah.
Big girls will stand by you. They
Yeah,
don't have a lot of options.
yeah. This is exactly. And all that weed gave her the munchies.
Just horrible. Okay.
Hey, you're fat shaming her, not me. I described a woman.
You described
I
her.
described her as being a big girl. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's beautiful.
Okay, so how much?
$722,000. Brian pleads guilty, negotiates a good deal for Candy. How much time you giving Brian?
Like 2 years, under 2 years, 2 years or under, right?
God damn, did you look at my notes?
No, but the other person got 2 years and under, right?
2
Or
years.
2 years. 2
2
years.
years.
Yeah.
2 years.
That's just the guidelines. He's never been in trouble.
Yeah.
He cooperated right away. He played guilty, cooperated. He signed a plea. He didn't fight it. Mm-hmm. They hate it when you fight it.
Yeah.
And so 2 years seems reasonable.
2 years, yeah. 2 years, then he gets out, and it's a tearful reunion with him and Candy.
You good over there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking what you're. I'm just thinking. I wonder what he's about to say before his intro next. You know, like. Have you ever been watched, Matt Cox?
Yeah, exactly. You ever painted a house? Yeah. Well, this guy liked to paint houses.
Matt, we're about the same age. High school class of 88. You were born in 69. I was born in 70.
I was Yeah.
Yeah, about the same age. You remember Fran Tarkington?
Fran
Tarkington.
Boy, that sounds familiar. Fran Tarkington. I can't.
Did you have any straight friends growing up? He's an NFL guy.
Is he?
Yeah. He was a quarterback for mostly the Minnesota Vikings.
You can mention Peyton Manning, and Matt will probably be like,
Peyton Manning. Manning.
He played for the NFL for 18 seasons.
Okay.
Phenomenal quarterback, mostly for the Minnesota Vikings. Here's why you might remember him, though, nerd. Remember the TV show That's Incredible?
Yes.
He was one of the hosts of That's Incredible.
Okay.
He was also a host of a show that you never watched growing up, evidently, called Monday Night Football.
No.
All right. This is going to be lost on you, but I'm sure your viewers will watch it. Fran Tarkenton was a huge celebrity.
Okay.
Right? Like think Tom Brady, like level of celebrity, within a very successful career in media after he left the NFL.
The reason I know Tom Brady is because of the FTX.
His dabbling in white collar crime.
and his roast.
Okay, yeah.
And that's it. And listen, Jess and I, last night, I think we were talking about like her mom's trans or something went out. Mm-hmm. And Jess said something. I forget whatever she said. She said in such and such. She said, I mean, it's got posi traction. So, and I went, and I said, you know what posi traction is, don't you? And I went, I said, I go, yeah, of course. And she goes, what is it? I said, it's when both the wheels are connected on the axle, they both spin. And I said, because normally both your wheels don't spin, right? Like, you have a slip differential, typically, I think. And I said, one wheel spins and one doesn't. It's whatever one's getting traction. And posi traction is when both spin. And she was like, wow. She's like, how do you know that? I said, because in the movie My Cousin Vinny, when he gets his girlfriend on the stand, she explains what posi traction is. And that's how they figure out that these guys did not kill these, beat somebody, because there were 2 tire tracks. And that would mean it was Ponzi track. I mean, it was posi traction. So I explained it, and she just starts laughing. She goes, I should have known that you didn't know because of the
right, your time in engineering school.
Yes, connected. Yeah, not because you've ever changed a fucking wheel in your life. Right. She's just like, oh my god. So yes.
Imagine a world where a guy named Fran Tarkenton was a big celebrity.
Okay.
And an older man now, probably 80s, maybe 90s. I mean, he was a big deal when you and I were kids.
So this happened recently.
Yeah. He had one of his daughters married a guy named Craig Allen. And Craig Allen held himself out as an investment advisor, and he told people that he managed money for Fran Tarkenton, his famous father-in-law.
Okay.
Okay, right? So that's kind of getting his foot in the door with potential investors. Hey, if this guy's good enough for Fran Tarkenton, he can certainly handle my money.
Yeah, Fran wouldn't invest with,
That's incredible. Right? And so
Tom Brady wouldn't invest in some crazy crypto scam.
So Craig had a fund, called it the Cheetah Fund.
Okay.
CHEETAH, Cheetah Fund. And he said that he was making Fran Tarkenton returns of 40 to 75% a year on his money. And because, the son-in-law is a bit of a champion himself at trading stocks.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. And so investors, based on this insane amount of return that he's getting and the connection to Fran Tarkenton, beloved local figure, give him $9 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Over a course of a few years?
A couple of years.
Okay.
Couple of years.
Wow.
But you're going to be shocked to learn that he does not, in fact, invest that money in stocks. Are you sitting down, man?
I was just say, or invest any money for Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah. He basically moves it into other accounts under his control and then spends it kind of living this lavish lifestyle, purchasing cars, sends his kids to exclusive private schools, and just burns through the money.
Right.
And but he's got to keep this thing alive, right? Or the investors are going to start complaining.
He needs to borrow more money.
Well, he sends them quarterly statements showing that their investments are going gangbusters and doing really well with no basis in reality. He's creating these quarterly statements at home on his computer, but people are getting it. Why would you take your money out if you're making that kind of returns?
Right.
But eventually some guys need money. It happens. He's also sending them fake tax documents showing their capital gains and dividends that they're earning. And these people who invested the money are filing federal income taxes based on the 1099-int documents that he is sending them that have no basis in reality. Right? So problems on top of problems on top of problems. Took a couple years before all the money was gone. And if people started needing money for this or that, hey, I want to move, put an extension on the house. I'd like to take out $700,000. And he starts ghosting them. And he's not returning their calls. He's, I'll get back to you. Oh yeah, I'll get right on it. And so excuses after excuses after excuses. Then at one point he sends an email out to all the people who are complaining saying, I can't deal with this right now because I need to go to rehab. And you'll be surprised to learn, Matt Cox, that did not give them a sense of comfort that their money was safe. He's like, chill out, got to go to rehab. We'll deal with this when I get back. So the investors call the FBI, who launch an investigation. They assigned forensic accountants to it, as well as agents, to kind of take a look at the inflows and outflows of money to learn the truth that this money was not, in fact, invested in stocks. It was just pissed away by Fran Tarkenton's son-in-law.
And to do that, they go to a judge, they get subpoenas, they get all the records.
You don't need to go to a judge. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office administers the federal grand jury subpoena process. When I needed subpoenas in my cases, I would go to the AUSA, the federal prosecutor, and say, hey, I need a subpoena for this bank, that bank, and that bank. Here's a Word document. This is what I want you to write on the subpoena. They would issue that to me. I would serve it on the bank. 6 weeks later, sometimes as little as 3 weeks later, I would get the bank documents, and we begin getting to work, kind of scheduling that out and figuring out what happened to the money that this guy took in. Right. And in this case, it was pretty clear And I also want to be clear, Fran Tarkenton did nothing wrong.
Yeah, he didn't have any idea this is
Right.
happening.
His lousy son-in-law. I don't even know that Fran Tarkenton trusted his money with this bum.
Right.
How much money are you going to give this guy, though? How much time?
How much did he lose? The whole nine.
$9 million gone.
The whole nine's gone.
Gone.
You can't even
Not
sell
a penny.
off some assets.
I don't even think it was Ponzi'd back.
$9 million.
9 million big ones, Matt Cox.
God, plus he's making documents. I mean, like super.
Right. Just unwinding this,
Yeah.
the inconvenience. These people got to go to the IRS and file amended tax returns now.
Still, I'd say he's never been in trouble before. We're assuming.
Right.
Did he plead guilty right away?
Pled guilty.
I'd say probably 9 years. Less than 9. 8 or 9 years.
7 years.
7 years. It was harsher on him.
Yeah.
A little harsh. I don't like the making the fake document. Like they're getting in deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Like you got sophisticated means. You got there's other things that are obviously enhancements. But then you get into the point where it's like it's more than just you're stealing. Now you're kind of really causing a lot of
It's
damage,
messing people's lives
Right.
up, right?
I don't know. And the other thing is like, how did you possibly think this wasn't going to end in disaster? Like it's just a jackass move. But yeah, I would say 8 or 9, but you're saying 7. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he had a substance abuse problem or if the rehab thing was just an excuse. That was never really in any of the court documents.
I would probably if he had a substance abuse problem, I would probably knock off a year or give him RDAP.
Well, you give him a break for the substance abuse problem. The use of
Yeah.
illegal drugs for you is a way to reduce the sentence, not to increase it.
Or get him RDAP. I'd probably give him a year off and then probably tell him you got to take the RDAP program. You get another year off, you take the RDAP program. So he'd still be at 7. Listen, I'd still be harsher. He'd still be at 7.
So you're saying that this is interesting to me because I don't necessarily agree. The sentencing judge should give him a discount on his sentence if he is a drug addict. If he made the choice to use illegal drugs, became addicted, and then stole money.
I think if his lawyer could prove to the judge, document to the judge that it helped contribute to his crime, I could see giving him a little bit of a pass because he had a substance abuse problem. Which, if you could say, now the problem is I'd have to see some kind of proof. Like,
but isn't that accounted for through the drug treatment program, the RDAP program in the Bureau of Prisons where you'll get your discount on your sentencing? You're saying that he should almost get double credit for being an addict?
well, I think you don't necessarily pass the RDAP program. I think it's offered to you. You have to pass it. And I think, once again, I think should be considered a contribution, like a contributing factor to why you did this. If you just did it, I've just stole everything. But if you could say, hey, look, I had a substance abuse problem. I can show you documentation where I tried to go to rehab, where I've got family members who are saying this has been a constant problem in his life. Like if you could show that it was a contributing factor, I would knock off, not a lot, but I'd give you something off. Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective.
Trying to have a little empathy for somebody.
I get it.
I'm not saying a lot.
It's not. It's not a crazy position. It's just it's counterintuitive for most people. Most people would be like, "Well, you should.
Yeah.
Well, it's your problem." Or I didn't force. No one forced you to use powder.
That's true, but
it's an explanation, not an excuse. I think most people would say.
I think and I don't have I've never had a drug problem. Right. I've never used drugs.
Right.
But and I've had, it's funny, I have a friend who's an alcoholic. Well, I probably have a few, but one friend, even growing up, was an alcoholic. And I remember driving with his dad one time. We were going to a closing, and I was actually flipping a piece of a contract to his father and his business partner. Totally legitimate thing. So, and we were going, he was like, what am I going to do with, my son? And we were talking about his son. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, he's got an alcohol problem. And so we were having this conversation. His son and his father, former Marine, was, well, I just don't understand that. Like, it's just a matter of choice. If he wanted to stop, he could stop. I was like, yeah, it's not. Chris Bond, I grew up with a father who's an alcoholic, so I'm like, it's not that easy, And he's like, well, it's just a matter of discipline. So he's just not disciplined. He's just saying all these things, and I'm like, well, I don't. If it was that easy, then,
no. I'm not saying that like there's not such a thing as addiction.
Right.
I'm saying that it becomes a real slippery slope, a moral hazard to be giving people a pass on the things they do that harm others just because they happen to have been high at the time.
I agree, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying if you can, I'm not saying you can just say it. Well, Your Honor, I got a drug problem. No, I want to know you've been struggling with it. I want to know your family are telling you this is a real thing. You've tried to go to rehab. And then I can say, look, you're not making sound decisions, and I'm going to give you a pass, a little bit of a pass, not a lot. I'm going to take you from 9 to 8. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because you're going to prison no matter what. You're not. This isn't. And I'm going from 9 to 5, or 4. I'm going to give you a year off because you have an issue. But I'm also going to send you to RDAP, and if you complete RDAP, I'm going to give you another year. You're going to another year.
I'm not uncomfortable with that.
Right. He's still a 7.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Which is where.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. I could see having a little bit, give him a little bit, if you can prove to me. But if you just get up there and say your lawyer says, "Oh, he's got a drug. It was drugs, Your Honor. You don't understand." I'd be like, I don't. Everybody's going to say that then.
Yeah.
If it works for you, everyone's going to say it.
Right.
I want to see.
That's the moral hazard I'm talking about.
Yeah, I want to see proof. I want to see this. I want to see he's struggled. I want to see he's tried to get over it. I want to see his family. You're going to have to give me some letters, and it's not just the letters. I want to see proof. They're like, "Well, I'm sorry, I never did go to rehab. I never did try it. I didn't realize." Okay, well, I'm sorry. You can go to RDAP.
I feel like though in that world, in this Matt Cox universe where you get this great discount for being a drug addict, there's all the incentive in the world for me to run a Ponzi scheme and then right when it's about to collapse to shove as much powder possible up my nose.
And you're going to get a little bit of time off for that. If you can.
in this Matt Cox world of justice. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I always appreciate your perspective on these things. You are the king of law and order. All right.
I don't think there's anything that gives you anybody a clean, a clean sweep that they could say to a judge if you've run something that especially if something that has sophisticated means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
You put a lot of thought into this. You ran this for a long time. There were lots of opportunities to change.
Interesting. No, I always appreciate your perspective on these things. You ever known a dirty lawyer?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it these people that you were kind of in the mix with on some of your own frauds or?
What's funny is I feel like the lawyers that were involved or I came into contact in my fraud that did things that were clearly not, I feel like it was willful blindness. Like, you're telling, like, I'm explaining to you that what I'm telling you is clearly fraud, and you're acting like it's not fraud because you want to charge me and help, and you want to get the business. Does that make sense?
I get it. My question is,
you knew this was fraud.
Did you ever know any attorneys who got charged with fraud type crimes?
In prison, yeah. That if I didn't know them on the outside, I knew them in prison.
Do you think the judge slammed them harder for being lawyers? Kind of like the "you should have known better" thing we discussed earlier.
No, I feel like they always tend to get. I feel like they get a lot of these guys. I felt like they got less time. Now, the one guy I know that really got slammed was a guy that was pretending to be a lawyer.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yes. They didn't like that at all.
That is a problem. I investigated a lawyer in Chicago who all of his law clients were Polish immigrants who were injured on the job and needed an attorney to help file a workman's compensation claim.
Okay.
The attorney's name, and I wish I was making this up, was William Malarkey.
Okay.
His name was William Malarkey.
That's perfect.
And a lot of Polish people in Chicago. A lot of right off the boat Polish people in Chicago who spoke very little English. But William Malarkey had some Polish translators on his staff, legal secretaries and stuff like that. So he would file these workman's compensation claims for his Polish clients who got hurt on the job. A lot of construction workers, they threw out their back or whatever, and he would in the settlement checks he would end up settling these cases, and the settlement checks go to the attorney's office.
Yes,
and
he takes out his piece, he gives you the rest.
In the perfect world, he would take out his piece and give you the rest. But in William Malarkey's world, what he did was broke it very gently to his Polish immigrant clients that they lost the case, and he kept the money for himself.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's horrible.
I know, these nice people. They were the nicest people in the world. His victims, I don't know. I lost the case. And my attorney said it was $187,000. From 15 different clients.
Oh, these are small cases.
Small, well, or maybe he's not really working super hard to negotiate these things and get the best settlement possible. But $187,000.
Right.
And eventually, a couple of the Polish people realize that there's a problem here, and they contact the ARDC, the Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission for the state of Illinois, who does their own little internal investigation.
They said you won the case.
Yeah, right. Yeah. To take his law license away, and then I get the criminal case against him. Right. So interview the Polish people, nice people. They tell me their stories. Take a look at the documents. Take a look at the how the negotiation actually went.
Yeah.
And prove it up. And so then it comes time to interview William Malarkey. And no longer a lawyer.
Right.
Because it's really, when you do that to your clients, it throws a real wet blanket on your law practice.
Right.
And so at this point, he's selling used cars.
Okay.
And
That's perfect.
at a new car lot, Chevy place. Yeah. And so I go to the Chevy place and posing as a customer with another dude, another agent, young agent, and say, and go to the front desk lady and say, I'm supposed to, want to see if I can buy a car. Is William Malarkey here? And they're like, yeah, he's working right now. Hey, Bill, come over here. And he all smiles, comes up, hi, Bill, good to meet you. And I go, come over here, I want to show you something. And so we go over to a car and I go, hey man, my name's Tom. I'm an FBI special agent. I do not want to get you in trouble here. Let's go on a test drive together. He's like, what? And I go, I got to talk to you. And I go, but I don't want you to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I was trying to get you fired.
Yeah, exactly. You got to eat. Let's go get in a used car and go for a drive. And so, oh, okay. And so he gets the keys to some Chevy Equinox or whatever, and we get in it. We, other agents in the back. I'm in the passenger seat. Bill's driving for some reason, and I go, just drive a couple blocks and pull over. And it was like a mob hit, right. and pull over and put it in park, Bill. And so I re-identify myself. Say, listen, you're not under arrest. You're free to leave at any time. I always tell them that because then I don't have to Mirandize them because they're not in custody.
Right.
And say, and walked him through it. And, this is what I'm investigating. I'd like to hear your side of the story. Yeah, it got away from me, needed money, practice wasn't going so well.
These are immigrants.
Yeah. Oh, no. My job's not to shame him.
No.
Right? No, I'm not kidding. You're laughing, but my job is not to shame him. My job is
I was thinking he was saying, what is it? What's the big deal? They're just off the boat. What are these people? I didn't know. Yeah.
No. I think he felt he feigned an appropriate amount of compassion for them, and but again, you got to see the world through his eyes. This is the empathy versus sympathy thing. I don't have any sympathy at all for this guy,
right? But
I can certainly have empathy for him and try to understand that no one is a villain in their own life story. Right. He sees himself as someone who is a victim of the financial circumstances of his life, who was doing something to keep his head above water that he would one day make right. And that was basically the line that I threw him. And he latched onto it and said that was the problem. He was having financial problems. He was going to try to make it right to these people. But then one thing led to another. You get to your 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. By the time you're on your 12th guy that you ripped off, you got to keep rolling at that point because someone's got to pay the light bills. And so he was nice enough there in a like new Chevy to sign the confession. And
you got him to sign the confession sitting during the test drive in the Chevy.
Absolutely. Because the reason it's so important to me to get the confession from these people, even though I can prove the case in a financial crime without it, is because it supercharges the case through the criminal justice system. At that point, I don't need to kind of like follow all the money and figure out, which credit card was he paying down? What was he buying with this credit card and all that? I can just package that case up, bring it to the U.S. Attorney's Office and with the signed confession on the front page, and then the interviews with the victims and the limited financial analysis. And it rises to the top of the heap because the U.S. Attorney's Office, the federal prosecutors, know that they're not going to have to waste the taxpayers' money taking this one to trial. This one is a plea. My confessions are all solid. They're never overturned.
Right.
How much time are you going to give?
Under 2 years.
William Malarkey.
2 years.
2 years, did you guess?
Yeah.
Man, you must have hacked my computer. 24 months in prison is what he got.
What do you think he got? I'm thinking because he was a lawyer, right?
Yeah. The judge went bananas.
Yeah, should have been. Because honestly, like on the guidelines, they probably should have been less.
Oh, without question. Yeah. So I walked into this thinking that he could even walk away with probation. But the fact that this many victims, vulnerable victims, and then the lawyer thing, the judge went bananas over the idea that an attorney, a member of the bar, our profession, just threw the book at him.
Yeah. So I didn't I tell you? Did I tell you about the guy that I met in prison? That was God. Why can't I can never remember his name. Did I tell you about it? It was a guy who was pretending to be a lawyer, right?
Yeah, you mentioned that you had a guy who pretended to be a lawyer.
I'm sure I must have told you about this guy because it's when you say Chicago. Oh God, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Can you give me a minute? I have to say because a matter of fact, I would love it to tell you this because I think you would love to look into this. This is one of the things you should look at and come back and be like, holy shit. Because I'll tell you what I remember. Mm-hmm. And then if you probably look on Pacer and be like, wow. Oh, matter of fact, never mind. Jim Keegan.
Okay. Irishman.
James Keegan.
I used to play tennis with a Jim Keegan, different guy.
Yeah, let's hope. You never know with this guy. Yeah. I'm going to tell you the story, and if I've told it before, you can.
I have not heard the story, I promise.
Okay. So I'm in federal prison fighting my case, right? Loosely fighting my case. Really, I'm just kind of writing stories and hoping that Frank will get me out. This other guy will fight my case. So I'm in prison, and this guy comes on the compound. He just came from doing like 4 years or 5 years in the state.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Once you look into it, if you're like, he did 18 months, whatever. He had gone to state, got 4 or 5 years, actually according to him, had fought for 3 years. His case ends up pleading guilty in the state, gets some state time served, does another year or two, gets out, comes to federal. So now he's got to do some federal time for whatever reason. The reason he said he was there was that he was consistently beating in Chicago, he was consistently beating state charges for gang members. He's like, I was representing gang members for different murders.
He was a criminal defense
attorney. I had like 5 or 6 cases where I won every single case, went to trial. So the gang leaders, they're coming to me. He is admittedly, these guys aren't writing checks. They're giving me cash, whatever. He said a lot of them, their families would give them money orders, checks. He said at some point they end up, the state ends up investigating him, and the feds come in and investigate him. Because the feds can get you for stuff that the state can't. So they get me for commingling funds. So he names off a bunch of stuff that he says they get him for. We don't know any better.
Yeah.
So, but none of this is true.
Yeah, none of this sounds right. Okay,
this is what he tells. So
sure,
he fights it. Well, first he says, he's got first they try and get him on this. They have to drop that. They have to drop this. They have to drop all these charges. Whatever.
So when you're in prison, you don't know what the fellow inmates are in for.
What I know, he's in for wire fraud.
How do you know that? Is there like some sort of like...
You can get a judgment commitment, or you can just go on. You can kind of look and see what he's fighting. Sometimes they'll put it on. We have like a version of Pacer, a limited version, or people look it up. But there was an article about him. So people had an article where they got him for like wire fraud. He got him for wire fraud, Jim Key. And guys are looking him up. And because they're like, damn, this guy says he was a fucking big time defense attorney. Yeah. So they look him up. And people are coming with like, bro, this is who Jim Keegan is. And they're reading it. And he represented this gang member, 2 murders, acquitted. This one acquitted. This one not guilty. This one, like, just boom, boom, boom.
He's like Mike Tyson in the 80s.
Like, this guy is he's amazing. So guys are coming to him saying, bro.
He's looking for legal advice.
Take my case.
Yeah.
He's I'm only going to be here about 3 years. He really had less than that.
Yeah.
I got like 3 years. I'm just writing it out, bro. I'm just not interested. But people are begging him. And he's like, I don't do federal. I do state.
Yeah. And he's arguing at trial. It's not like he's an appellate guy or
right. But he doesn't. But these guys are. Right, got nobody. This is a real lawyer. Uh-huh. And so they're arguing. It's like between him and Frank Amadeo, who thinks his troops are gonna storm on Washington and he's gonna take the country over. It's like, I don't know. I'm gonna go with this guy who I can read, who's a criminal defense attorney in the state.
Yeah.
He's like, they're like, feds the same. He's like, no, the feds is much harder. So, and he has these, and so he's having, and keep in mind, Frank Amadeo's there. He's talking to him.
Yeah.
Frank Amadeo was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Frank Amadeo, absolutely, he's a real lawyer. So, super, anyway, so He's got other lawyers that are there. Nobody's questioning him. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So finally he says, okay, look, here's the thing. I've read your case. This is a slam dunk. And he's like, here's what I'm going to do. If you can give me, God, I can't believe this. Look, my brother is a lawyer in Orlando. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
He said, my brother's a lawyer in Orlando. I'm actually going to go work for him. When I go to the halfway house, that's my job.
Yeah.
So I will be able to kind of continue your case. And it's not that complicated. And I think I can get you off on blah, blah, blah. And he's always in the law library.
Yeah.
So he takes, have your family send me $2,500. Okay. Send it to my brother. They send it to his brother. Another guy, this is probably, he's 3 to 6 months away from being out the door.
Okay.
Nobody knows this though. They think he's got 3 years to go. He's leaving for halfway house soon. Anyway, so they're giving him money. He's got like so I've heard different, some of them it's like he ended up getting $20,000, $30,000, $35,000. I've heard up to $40,000, $50,000 is what he got from him. And I know at least 10. Because, I don't know everybody he's talking to, but I know at least multiple guys that are like, I sent him 2,500, another guy 15, another 3, another. So his brother got at least 10.
Yeah.
Some guys are saying 40 and 50. So bottom line is a few months later, he's like, holy shit, I got more halfway house. I won this, whatever. I'm leaving. I'm going to the halfway house. I got a year halfway house, but I'll be working at my brother-in-law's or at my brother's.
I'm not going to forget about you.
I'm not going to forget about you. And he started filing paperwork or preparing paperwork. Like I don't think he's filed anything yet, but he's preparing,
drafting.
And keep in mind, you could have anybody draft up stuff for you.
Yeah.
Like there's like Frank has trained a couple hundred guys who are doing legal work at this place.
Right.
And so he's doing it. So he leaves. Nobody hears from him. Finally, after a few months, guys start, keep in mind, people have you can only have like a year to file your 2255, and he's promised people all kinds of stuff. So people's deadlines are coming up. They start calling his brothers.
The actual attorney in Orlando.
His brother's law firm.
Right.
Now, of course, they're not answering.
Yeah.
And then their families start calling. Need to talk to Jim Keegan. He's handling we know Jim is your brother.
Yeah.
We know he's working there. He's like, my brother's not working here. He's in a halfway house. And they're like, well, he's doing the legal work for such and such. And so finally, they get him on the phone. He talks to him. They're like, and the only reason he's even entertaining talking to these people on the phone, by the way, is because they mailed a check to his law firm.
Right.
Your law firm got this check, or you personally got the check and deposited it.
Yeah, the Orlando lawyer's got an issue.
He's got an issue. You're doing legal work here.
Right.
You cash a check, even if it's in your name or either way, you've got a problem here, and it's your brother. And he's saying he's not working here. And so what ends up happening, and I may have some of the details wrong, but they start filing with the Florida bar.
Yeah.
And it's not one person. We're talking a dozen or so people are saying with copies of the canceled checks.
The paralegal of the Bar Association is seeing the same name again and again and again. Yeah.
So they go to launch an investigation. He starts mailing people their money back. $2,500, $3,000, $1,500. I know one guy who wrote up a whole thing who was explained that he had sent him like $1,000, not him $1,000, but had paid Keegan, who was going to work talks about commissary, a whole thing. He sent him $1,000. He didn't ever pay this guy anything. This guy's just desperately paying anybody.
He's making it rain.
If a letter shows up, he owes me $500. Here's the money. He's going to lose his law license.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. As all this is unfolding, you find out he's not even a lawyer.
James Keegan's not an attorney.
Keegan's not a lawyer. So the question
is there an attorney with that name in Chicago?
His father. Oh. His father was a high-priced attorney. It comes out.
So James Keegan Sr. is the brilliant guy. Junior is this moron.
And the reason he did know about like Frank and everybody's like, he was very well versed in the law.
Yeah.
Because he had gone to state prison and was doing state cases. He was a jailhouse lawyer in state prison, and you learn a lot.
Yeah.
You can get out, like after 3 years of doing criminal legal work, you seem like if Anybody who doesn't have a more knowledge than you, you're absolutely going to fool.
Yeah.
Came out, he's talking to Frank. This is where I went to school. They didn't go to the same school, but he knows everything about it. So other lawyers are talking to him. They're all like, I thought he was a fucking lawyer. So, Frank, of course, is like, I was always skeptical.
Sure, you or I could pass for an attorney.
Absolutely. If somebody wasn't an attorney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We might be able to fool an attorney.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if they didn't ask too many questions. So give me a little research time. Yeah. So Pete could absolutely pass for an attorney. He did legal work for guys for 20 something years. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so here's what happens: is the attorney gives all the money back, and you don't hear anything about Keegan, right? But people are checking periodically. Now, here's what happened too, by the way. So obviously it wasn't commingling of funds. They weren't out to get him. What he had done was he'd gone to work for a company that was like a pallet company or some kind of a company that had something to do with pallets. Mm-hmm. And he was doing their books. And he robbed them for like $400,000 over the course of a year or two. And he's selling pallets out the back.
Simple embezzlement.
Simple embezzlement. He ends up, so while that's happening, he ends up going to state prison. He does a bunch of legal work, and then apparently because of the wire fraud charges or something, he has to go to. So his story made sense.
Yeah.
He ends up going to federal prison. Had Frank fooled. So he goes to federal prison where he runs this other scam. He gets out. Once he gets out, somehow or another, he violates once. We know he violated once, went back to jail because they tried to send him back to Coleman.
Right.
He wouldn't go on the compound.
Oh, yeah.
So he stays in the shoe. And then I don't know how long he stayed in the shoe.
He would have gotten his ass handed to him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These guys are ready to kill him.
Yeah.
So some people, if they have like a year to do your 2255, they miss the deadline.
Yeah. They're doing time because of him at this point.
They don't have any recourse. Mm-hmm. So he does end up getting out again. He goes back to Chicago. I know he goes back to Chicago because he picks up another case. Here's the case he picks up. This is how ballsy this guy is. This is a true con man. Mm-hmm. I mean, just vicious. And I'd love to know the real, so like I have a version of the story I've pieced together, but I don't know. And if you could get him to really tell the story, or if you really could look into it, you'd probably be like, this is insane.
Is he out? Do we know if he's out now?
Well, he should be back in. Here's why. He goes to, and there's articles about it. Yeah. He goes to Chicago. He opens up a law firm. I mean, the balls on this guy.
Well, he's got the name, especially in Chicago, right? Yeah.
But he does immigration law.
Okay.
Vulnerable victims, right?
Right.
Like, who better to take advantage of than people that can't complain?
So he opens up a law firm without being a lawyer and just holds himself out as an attorney
You just open up we're going to go rent a space next week.
I get it. Yeah.
Like the people that are renting the space, they don't say, "Hey, can I see your law license?"
Yeah.
Not that I put it past him printing one off the internet or paying $40 for whatever legal law school. Anyway, he opens it up and he starts charging people. I forget the amount. I'm going to say $2,500, $2,000 to help them get their green card and get citizenship.
Okay, so he's walking them through an administrative process that anyone who can follow directions in English could do.
Right. So so you're coming in, you're Mexican or Polish or whoever. You're coming in, you're giving him $2,500,
I'll fill out these forms for you.
I've got it. I know a guy, and then in 6 months or so, he gives you a green card. He's making green cards.
Oh my God, counterfeit green cards?
Yes. So here's the funny thing: the amount in the paper was around $500,000 he made.
There'd be so many people.
Yeah. So this was I think he kept it open for either a year to 18 months before the feds come in.
Yeah. And
they grab him and he goes back to jail. Like, to me, what killed me is, why'd you go 18 months? Like, you have to be foolish to think that this isn't going to, like, these people are being asked, they're showing green cards, so that's going to catch up. At some point, they're going to say, I can tell you, I paid a guy, I paid him, here's where he is. And at some point, somebody, if you get enough of those guys, some agent's going to say, I'm going to look into this guy.
It's a name that keeps popping up,
Keegan. Keegan is a 90-year-old or an 80-year-old who's retired, but his son, somebody puts it together, they grab him, he went back to jail. I want to say he got 5 or 6 years for that or something, or maybe he never got, I don't know. In my mind, it was 5 or 6 years. I'm assuming he's still locked up.
Be a good guess for the show.
I would love to pull the article on him and give it to you and see what you think. If you could look in, like, if you could probably tell me, because I probably got half that story wrong.
Well, we'll take a look into it.
Or I could have Pete look at it. I could have somebody look at it because I'd love to know what the real story is. I'd love to get in touch with him. But he's the kind of guy, a true con man is never going to really talk to you about this.
Yeah.
He was so arrogant, though. He was so.
How old do you think he is now?
Oh gosh, he's probably in his. He's in his. He's probably close to 60 or maybe 60, maybe 60. Old enough to know better, and he's always been a problem. And I got the little bits and pieces from everybody who had talked to his brothers, ready to kill him.
He should sell the film rights to his life.
Oh, I would love to. He's got to be amazing. But once again, non-sympathetic character.
Yeah,
like your brother. Here's the thing too. Think about that. Do you have any sympathy for him? Because your brother, you were both raised by the same father. Mm-hmm. Your brother's a fucking successful lawyer in Orlando, and you're running around in and out of prison, ripping people off, pretending to be a lawyer.
It happens. There's always a fail son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell my parents.
I wasn't pointing any fingers, but
okay. So what's the next one?
Do you know what an arrow key is? You ever heard the term arrow key?
No, I don't think so.
An arrow key is a unique kind of key that's in possession of postal carriers. It's a skeleton key, basically, for the blue U.S. Postal Service mailboxes.
Okay.
Worth a lot to have an arrow key. You got to be careful with the arrow keys, or people can steal the mail very easily. There's a woman named Kristen Williams, who is a postal carrier in Mobile, Alabama. And she knows a dude named Shaun White. During the course of their relationship, Shaun White convinces her, sell me your arrow key for $2,000. Kristen does it. She sells her arrow key to this guy for $2,000.
Oh, Christian.
$2,500 actually. So then Shaun goes to work. Not as many mailboxes today as there were back in the old days. The old days, it felt like every corner had a blue mailbox. But there's still one sitting outside the Bel Air Mall in Mobile, Alabama. And so Shaun would drive up his car late at night, take his arrow key, open it up, start going through the envelopes there, looking for something that looked like someone was paying their bills, and would steal the envelopes that he thought would have checks. Pop them open, and he had the checks. Mm-hmm. Think about the information that's on every check, right? You got someone's name, you got their address, you got a facsimile of their signature, you have the routing number, you have their account number. It's amazing that we ever wrote checks in this country with all the information we're just giving away on a check. When I was a kid, before Social Security numbers were a thing, some people put their Social Security numbers on the check itself because you'd often have to put that down as ID.
In Tennessee, they used to have Social Security numbers, and this is back in the 90s and 2000s. They actually would have your Social Security number on your driver's license.
It was your DL number in Virginia growing up.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's where I grew up. And so what Shaun was doing is he began producing counterfeit checks with all that information and giving it to his friends to deposit into their bank accounts, bang the money out, keep a little bit for themselves, and give Shaun the money. And it was this nice little industry. Shaun was able to steal $70,000 from this scheme.
How long of a period of time?
You're always interested in that. Let's say a few months.
I'm wondering how long the scam can go before you have to change locations.
Yeah. So Shaun, I think we can both agree, brilliant criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of thought.
He ran into one problem. Kristen, the postal carrier, was one of his friends that he was having negotiate the checks.
I was going to say, or the fact that you're giving these checks to your friends who are all going to roll over the moment that somebody knocks on their door.
Right. So the U.S. Postal Service figures out what the point of compromise was in this case and realizes that mail is being stolen. And they set up a nighttime surveillance at the mall, watching that mailbox all night long. Day after day after day, they're watching the mailbox. Can you think of a more boring surveillance than staring at the mailbox until it's like 2 a.m? A Mercedes pulls up. It's Shaun. He gets out, look both ways, ding-a-ding-a-ding, tiptoes over to the mailbox, takes the arrow key, opens it up, and begins stealing mail. And then the postal inspectors move in. Shaun hops in his Mercedes and starts driving. High-speed car chase. Postal inspectors are on his ass trying to catch him. Left turn, right turn, left turn, right turn. Eventually, they corner him, and they stop him, and they arrest him for stealing the mail. FBI joined the investigation really more on the bank fraud side. And it becomes clear that when they arrest Sean, they take a look at his cell phone and they see text messages between him and Kristen, just kind of laying it all out. She said she was having anxiety about her involvement in the whole thing in the text message. She's having anxiety. A lot of these young people have anxiety. You wouldn't know anything about anxiety. Young people have anxiety. So now they're able to get Kristen for selling him the arrow key. Sean pleads guilty, and the only smart thing he did is cooperate against Kristen. Right? His idea from Jump Street, but he's going to cooperate against the mail carrier lady. Kristen goes to trial.
I thought she had anxiety before.
Kristen goes to trial.
With the text messages
and with Sean as the key government witness in this case.
So horrible.
And you'll be shocked to learn a guilty verdict from the jury. How much time are you going to give Sean and Kristen? $70,000 in losses. So again, not a huge case economically, but you got a postal carrier, right?
Yeah.
Who violated her
Position of
office.
trust. Yeah. Position of trust.
Right.
That's an enhancement.
You got Sean, who's sort of kind of orchestrating this thing. He's the ringleader of this, but he cooperates, pleads guilty, does the right thing, right? He, how much time are you going to give these two?
First of all,
who are you going to give more time to?
Of course, Kristen. One of my enhancements was a violation of a position of trust because I was a licensed mortgage broker.
Right,
you knew better. What does she get? Well, listen, she went to trial, $70,000. She's getting 5. She's getting 4 years, maybe 5.
What do you think?
She's getting 4 years. Let's say she's getting 4 or 5 years. Oh, he doesn't get any time at all. He's getting probation. It's $70,000, and he cooperated, and he got on the stand. He could be in trouble in prison. He gets no time, and she's getting
more than minimal planning. He got a bunch of friends involved. Kristen gets 36 months in prison. The mail carrier, 3 years.
I said 4. Oh, I'm harsh on these people, aren't I?
You are. You're a hanging judge.
She went to trial. What are you, stupid? What a waste of taxpayer money.
The mastermind, Sean, 32 months.
Holy shit. Come on. How did he get 32 months?
He orchestrated this giant thing.
Giant thing is $70,000 and he cooperated.
This is so elaborate. Okay. Shame on him for not monetizing it more, but it's very elaborate. He's getting the skeleton key. He's going in the middle of the night. He's getting this mail. He's producing false documents. He's luring other people into the scheme. He's wheeling, he's dealing, he's zinging, he's zanging.
He cooperated and she was the linchpin to this whole thing. She was the arrow key to this whole thing.
She just provided him an arrow key and then deposited checks into her bank and then gave him a portion of the money.
I think he should have gotten 3 years paper or probation, and I think she should have gotten 3 or 4 years. 4 years. She should have got 4 years. He should have got paper.
All right. Fair enough.
Are you what were they going to give him if he didn't cooperate? It's $70,000. Well, he must have had a criminal history.
Okay.
Or screwed up something with the cooperation. That's what I think. There's no way he doesn't get probation if he has no criminal history and he testifies. It's under $100,000. He should have walked. Something went wrong there.
I think the criminal history thing is probably right.
Yeah. He's definitely got a high criminal history. This guy's a small-time hustler.
You ever run into the U.S. Postal Inspection Service in all of your travels?
No, but I've met many people that have been arrested by them. They're basically
it's a good agency.
FBI agents.
Yeah, it's a good agency. I worked a lot of cases with them.
We always made fun of those guys. You got arrested. The postman arrested.
I know, it's a terrible name. They have a real branding problem.
They really do. But they have guns.
There was a TV movie though. There was a U.S. Postal Inspection Service TV movie that they all watch. And
what was it?
There's been a million FBI TV shows and movies. There was one made-for-TV movie about the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. I didn't watch it.
Okay, I was going to say, please. I hope they gave them a little credibility.
All right, so Matt, you've been doing pretty good today as far as guessing sentences.
Yeah, with the exception,
But these are all white collar crime sentences. So we're going to dial it up.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some lusty crimes, some violent crimes, and things like that. And let's see if you're good with those things, because I think you got the sentencing guidelines memorized for fraud.
Listen, I'm shocked that this guy, that last guy, didn't get probation. But other than that, I've been pretty accurate.
Yeah. Now, when you were on the run, you were a bit of a master of disguise, right? As far as changing your appearance.
Yeah, there was some plastic surgery involved for sure.
Yeah, that's heavy. I mean, you had a getaway face there. That's amazing. And it clearly worked because it stuck. You look fantastic.
Well, listen, I had a comment the other day from a guy that said, your plastic surgery is not holding up all that well. I thought it was a mean, but that may have been the
Oh, I
meanest
know.
spirited conversation
Isn't that
I've ever heard.
Was it
I
like
was
a comment on YouTube or something like that?
yeah, it was on a comment. I was like,
See, that's the thing. I get the same experience, right? Where like you get like 1,000 people, you're the best, we love you. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like such a good job. That one comment of
Yeah.
someone saying something shitty is the one that like sticks with you for a week.
oh man,
Yeah.
it was upsetting.
Well, I think your plastic surgery looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Do you know who else was a master of disguise?
Who?
31-year-old Cameron Thomas
Okay.
of Jefferson County, Missouri. He liked to dress as a lady and rob banks.
Ladyboy.
I don't know what his. I don't know if that was a lifestyle or if it was a disguise. Like a Mrs. Doubtfire, probably more like Medea, based on what I've seen.
What would they dub him? The Ladyboy bank robber? No.
I don't think I was the guy at the FBI in Chicago.
Did he give him a nickname?
Who got to write those nicknames, and so. But this wasn't my case.
Okay.
Again, this is Jefferson County, Missouri. This is fairly recently. He walks into the First Community State Bank and does a note job. Hands a note demanding money, dressed as a lady. Mm-hmm. Clearly a dude, like hairy knuckles, deep voice,
Right.
dressed as a lady. They give him some amount of money. Usually it's under $2,000, not much. He throws the money in his purse. Mrs. Doubtfire escapes with the loot. Gets away with it. It's amazing. 3 days later, same dude, still in ladies' clothing, goes into a credit union in St. Louis County, Missouri. This time he points a semi-automatic pistol at the teller and says, "Give me all your money." The robber puts the money in his purse again and then runs off. The next day, goes back to the first bank. It worked so well the first time, let's go back for more. This time cleverly disguised as a man.
Okay.
Points a pistol at the teller, makes her put the money in the bag. But while the robbery's happening, another employee calls the cops. And so he gets his money and he takes off, gets in his Mercedes. All these guys seem to have Mercedes today. And police, hot pursuit. Right turn, left turn, right turn, left turn again. And he bails out in an apartment complex, runs out on foot, wildly firing shots at the cops as they're chasing him down to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. He forces himself at gunpoint inside a woman's apartment and like basically bursts into the place and goes running back into her bedroom. The deputies, to their credit, they go right in and rescue the woman, right? They're not going to have a hostage situation here. And they begin clearing the apartment. They finally make it back to the woman's bedroom and they find Cameron Thomas. He had at this point changed into the lady's clothing.
There's some. I almost feel like there's a mental illness going on.
You think so, man? I mean, I guess this is his last chance to be in ladies' clothing. So by the time they get there, he had just changed into the ladies' clothing. They place him under arrest.
I promise you, it's not his last time.
Well,
being able to be a lady.
But it's also not his first bank robbery.
Right.
He had previously gone away for 10 years before for bank robbery when he was like 18, 19 years old. How much time are you going to give Cameron Thomas for these 3 bank robberies? Fired shots at the cops.
Yeah. So the first time when he gave him the note, my first thought was, he's getting 3 years. But you brandished a weapon. Mm-hmm. You fired the weapon at the police.
Yeah, it's a problem.
He's racking up the decades.
For the record, it goes federal. The cops hand it off to the FBI, who brings the case across the finish line federally.
And he's done it before.
Yeah, he's a freaking flyer.
25 to 30? 25 to 30 years.
Swish. 25 years, Matt Cox.
Wow.
I wonder that if 20 yeah, I would say he would probably have been. I would have thought if we hadn't said if he didn't have the previous conviction, I would have probably said 25. Yeah. But I would think the extra. I was through the 5 years in for the extra. Yeah. So 25. So I'm off somewhere. So there's some other thing that. But yeah, that seems reasonable.
25 years.
25 years seems very reasonable. That seems reasonable. What are you doing?
Yeah. He'll be like 56 years old when he gets out if he serves it all.
Well, first of all, he was on the right path with the note. Like if you're going to rob the bank, if you had to say, "Hey, Matt, what's possibly worth it?" It's like robbing a bank with a note. You know what I'm saying? Or counterfeiting cash.
The money you get's garbage.
No, it is garbage. The average. I've always heard that the average bank robbery is $3,500.
That's about right. Yeah, I was going to say 2,800, but it's in that neighborhood.
But the moment you pull a gun,
oh yeah, and things just escalate.
you're looking at 10 years right there. If you've never
Right.
been in trouble
Yeah.
before, you pulled a gun, you're getting 10 years.
Yeah, there's a difference between brandishing it and otherwise using it. If you point it, you're otherwise using it. If you're just lifting it up to show the gun, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, the sentencing guidelines are really specific regarding the use of a weapon in a bank robbery.
And then if you do something along the lines, you pull the gun and you tell them like, hey, get over there, get over there. Oh my God.
It's like kidnapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just told this person to move locations. You just kidnapped them.
Yeah.
Like that's kidnapping. Like
Yeah.
you got so many problems.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. You ever been to Benton Harbor, Michigan?
I don't think on purpose. Nobody's been to Benton Harbor. I've never even
It's
heard
a small
that. What
town.
is that?
There's only about 9,000 residents. But if you live there, your chances of being a victim of a violent crime are about 1 in 30. It is one of the most dangerous places to live in America.
In Wisconsin?
Michigan.
Where is it? Michigan?
Benton
No, I was gonna say,
Harbor, Michigan.
okay.
Yeah. You don't want to move to Benton Harbor, Michigan. If you guys are going to be setting up a podcast studio because
No.
there's some tax advantage in Michigan, Benton Harbor's not the place to do it.
We haven't even thought about tax advantage.
Right. Two brothers, Darnell Bishop and Dontrell Nance, ages 30 and 32.
Okay.
Darnell was 30. Dontrell was 32, for those of you keeping score.
Okay.
Regarding the violence in Benton Harbor, Michigan, Darnell and Dontrell are part of the problem, not part of the solution, Matt Cox. A couple weeks ago, they went to a house where the manager of the local gun...
A couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, a few weeks ago. I mean,
Okay.
maybe several weeks ago.
I thought these were people that have been sentenced.
No,
But
no, no,
this
no,
is-
this
now
is-
we're doing current
No,
crimes.
they've been. I mean, this is all very recent, but there has been a sentencing in this case. So I mean, we'll say 90. We'll get there. We'll get
Okay,
there.
okay.
Maybe it's not a couple of weeks ago. Give me a break. It was
Okay.
It was a couple of weeks ago when I wrote this.
Okay.
I mean, it's a true story, but it's these are all adapted from my my Instagram feed, right? I mean, a true story though. Okay, so they go to the house where the manager of the local gun shop lives. They kidnap the manager of the local gun shop and take him to like an abandoned apartment that they know. And they hold him hostage there at gunpoint until he provides them the security access code to the gun shop where he works. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So with this information, Darnell and Dontrell go to the gun shop and they steal 123 handguns. And they pack them in 2 large Yeti coolers and take the guns away. The manager of the gun shop lives to tell the tale. And obviously the police and the feds are on top of this. And they are in a real panic to try to find who these boys are, because you inject 123 stolen handguns into Benton Harbor, Michigan, things are going to go from bad to really bad. Make sense?
Yeah. Definitely makes sense.
So a lot of pressure there, but there's a big clue that the FBI, I believe, was able to get to the bottom of. While the brothers were holding the manager there, it wasn't enough for them to just get the security information for the gun shop. They also made the manager log on to his cell phone and send them all the money he could from his Cash App to the brothers' Cash Apps.
Brilliant.
So smart, right?
Yeah.
Because they're doing a financial crime in addition to stealing the guns.
Yeah.
But what's the problem with the plan, Matt Cox? You've been around the block a few times.
Feel like those cards may be in their names.
The Cash Apps were in the names of Darnell and Dontrell, which allowed the crack investigators from the FBI and the best forensic accountants money can buy to get to the bottom of it and identify the brothers. And so they went over to the brothers' house with a search warrant. They searched it and they got the guns back. They were able to keep the 123 guns,
Okay.
more or less, the stolen guns, before they could be distributed to the streets of Benton Harbor, making it, still the most violent place in America to be, but not as violent as it would have been otherwise. How much time are you going to give Darnell and Dontrell for this this fantastic scheme of theirs?
Do they have a criminal histories?
I'm going to go on a limb and say at
Yes.
age 30 and 32, this was not their first rodeo.
And they kidnapped the guy. They brought him to a separate location.
Yeah.
Did they harm him, or we assume it's
Threatened him
just-
at gunpoint. No, I never got any information that they were abused or tortured, that they tortured him or anything like that. I mean, obviously they scared the heck out of him.
Okay.
And they took money from his Cash App.
So
Here's a clue.
okay.
The brothers stood firm. Neither cooperated against the other.
Okay.
They both pled guilty, though. And they both got the exact same sentence.
I would say 25 years. Like they kidnapped some. I don't like. There's some stuff like if it was robbing, if you robbed a bank, even you pulled like I'd say 10 to 15. But the kidnapping, that's so serious. And the guns, that seems so serious. I can't imagine unless they had no criminal history. I would say if they had no criminal history, maybe 15 or 20. But if they have criminal history, 20 to 25.
Yeah, I don't have information about their criminal history.
Right.
I may be just sort of figuring that town has an issue, and these guys probably come from a socioeconomically depressed corner of the town. But they got 15 years each.
That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair.
There should be more.
It should be more. Mm-hmm. It's kidnapping. You came into someone's house and you kidnapped them and you moved the location and you stole guns. I'm sorry. No. We need to talk about this. I feel like making a phone call. I feel like writing a harshly worded email.
You're a hanging judge, Matt Cox.
I mean, there's something wrong.
Had I told you the guys were addicts, you would have given them probation, right?
I think if they've had to, first of all, they got the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't have, unless they had the same criminal history, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree the criminal history is the wild card here that I just don't know about.
Yeah. So
they never released that in the court records.
So you're saying 15 years. I was saying between 15 and 25.
You want credit for the win? I'm happy to give it to you. It's your show.
I don't want credit for the win because I'm still even the wild card is that I'm still saying 20, 25 to 30. Really,
right.
Listen, I don't have anybody who comes into my home, kidnaps someone, hold someone hostage.
It's got to be terrifying.
Or moves them.
Yeah.
I have no fucking sympathy for you.
Oh,
you might as well. That might as well be, a crime against a child.
That poor guy's traumatized forever.
Yeah, he's done. He's not going to. Yeah.
Got it.
And your home should be such a sanctuary that you should feel safe there no matter what.
Yeah, it was a good plan, except for the Cash App part.
Yeah. Well, there are people that will go and like kidnap, like watch like a jewelry store, and then go into that, go have a home invasion at 2 a.m, grab that person and have them bring them back to. I feel like that's just so.
I used to play at a high stakes poker game pretty regularly in Chicago, and we had a guy who won a bunch of money that night and left the card room and drove home to his fancy suburb of Winnetka, Illinois, and was robbed at gunpoint in his driveway. When, in like a really nice suburb. So somebody from the poker game called somebody else and said, that Asian dude, Johnny, he's leaving now. Follow him.
Right.
And then robbed him in his driveway. Yeah. When you were locked up, was there ever any romance between corrections officers and inmates?
I mean, there was an attempted, and I know there was an attempted one. I've told this story about the older guy. Did I tell you? You remember that?
I don't know if I was on the show for that one, though.
There was it?
I would say go ahead and tell it because, our last CO relationship, TikTok did very well.
It was a real relationship. It's just that it turns out, much like the Catholic Church, when you have allegations against you, they'll move you to different locations.
Okay.
And there was a CO that had several allegations of harassing inmates. He'd been moved around.
Dude CO?
Yeah.
And with dude inmates?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's harassing them. And he was older too. He was like in his late 50s, he was an older CO.
Gay guy or just horsing around?
No, gay guy.
Okay.
And so he showed up. He's a new CO, and he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Like you weren't a cool CO, you were an asshole. And so he shows up, and I had an old cellie named Frank. Frank was in his 60s. He's probably in his 70s now. He's 64, 65 years old. Yeah. So Frank's walking by the CO's office one day, and the CO says, "Hey, can we come in here?" And so Frank's grumpy. He walks in. He's like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "I've been watching you." He's like, "Okay." And he says, "You work out?" And Frank goes, "I used to work out a lot." He's like, "I don't work out that much anymore, but I try and stay in shape."
Yeah.
"Yeah. What do you do?" "I do this." And he kind of like, first of all, talking to a CEO is not a great look.
Yeah.
But he's just answering the question like this and this and this. Oh, I walk the yard. I try and watch what I eat. Yeah, you're in good shape. How old are you? This old. Oh, okay. He said, yeah. He said, if you're incarcerated and you have sex with another man, he goes, it doesn't make you gay. And Frank looked at him. He goes, yeah, it does. And he said, it does. And he said, yeah, I'm done with this conversation. He said, okay. He said, turn around and just walked off. He leaves. He comes to where my buddy Pete and I are. Me, Pete, and a guy named Donovan Davis were at a concrete picnic table down in an area we called Stonehenge. So he comes down there. He walks. He's like, hey. He walks up and he goes, listen to this. You know the fucking CEO? And I'm like, hey, listen to what just happened. And he tells us a story. And he's like, that motherfucker said that? And I was like, holy shit. And I go, well, and he goes, I can't fucking believe that. He goes, and I said, wait a minute now, Frank. I said, this may be your way out. And he says there, and he goes, what? And Frank, and I go, you need to think about it. I said, I mean, you do a reach around or something. Like, I mean, and I said, that may be your way out. And on cue, my buddy Pete goes, save the sample. Like that.
Right, like Monica Lewinsky.
Save the sample. We roar laughing. He goes, you fucking assholes. And he just turns around and walks off. Frank was just grumpy. But yeah, after that, we're all like, holy shit, this guy's like a predator.
Yeah.
And he was. And we found out like guys started talking. This is happening a lot. Guys start talking, and the other CEOs are like, oh yeah, they moved him around over and over again. Yeah. He's a real problem. He's been a problem. It's hard to fire these guys.
It's
right?
a very specific crime,
right.
A statute that was passed that makes it a crime. Right, because the power
grape. It makes it grape. It makes it grape.
It does. The power dynamic between the inmate and the correction officer is just too wide.
Yes.
So a prisoner, like a child, is incapable of consenting to sexual activity, and so it's an assault in the eyes of the law.
So my wife was at Coleman Low. I'm sorry, at Coleman Camp.
Right.
There was a huge. I don't know if you know this. There was a huge lawsuit at Coleman Camp. They actually turned the camp from a female camp to a male camp.
Okay.
Listen, they just closed Dublin, which was a female camp. There were so many assaults in Dublin, they just closed the camp.
Right.
Or Low, whatever it was. Anyway, there was, I think, like 10 or 12 female inmates in Coleman in the Coleman camp that were having relations with guards. And eventually one of them gets together and puts together a whole, like as they're getting out, puts together a whole crew of them. They get a lawyer, they file a lawsuit, and they sue Coleman. They sue the federal government at Coleman, and they sue these guards, and they end up getting like, you could look this up. I want to say it's like $80 million. It's insane.
Astronomical.
It's outrageous how the amount of money they got, especially since my wife knows that although by law you cannot give consent,
right? She's
like, these girls are getting into arguments and fights over, they're basically like, this is my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she's like, they want the attention, they want the, and these guards can bring in stuff for them.
Yeah, sure.
They're bringing in food, not just like drugs, but like food and stuff like that. So these girls feel like they have a relationship, like they're targeting these guys.
Oh yeah.
One of the guys, by the way, that was listed on one of the CEOs that was listed on the in the lawsuit. Oh man, his name was on the tip of my tongue. He drove to the prison, parked his car. He offed himself in the parking lot of the prison.
Probably going to lose his family and his pension.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, out of all those CEOs there, if you had to say who was a decent CEO, I mean, I don't know whether the allegations are true or not.
Yeah.
He was not a smart guy. Like, this is a guy like a 90 IQ. He was not bright. He had been in some kind of a car accident. He had a scar.
Traumatic brain injury of some kind.
Seemed a little slow, but he was just it seemed like a nice guy. He probably got targeted. And I'm not saying it's right or right. It's right. I mean, no matter what, targeted or not, you're supposed. It's a no situation.
Right.
But the allegations were like, oh, they were basically like the guards were coercing the women or forcing them or forcibly, doing. And my wife, who actually got picked up during the investigation and brought to the county jail to be questioned.
Okay.
Was like, I don't know anything. She's like, I told him I don't know anything. She said, but the truth is, she's like, I know that they were targeting them.
Yeah.
And she said, but she's like, but what the girls were saying wasn't true.
Yeah, best to sit that out. So there was a sheriff, the actual popularly elected sheriff, not just some sheriff deputy, in Noxubee County, Mississippi. His name was Terry Grassery. The sheriff obviously runs the county jail, right? It's their job, in addition to patrolling and doing whatever, which included, in this case, the ladies' block. And there was a female prisoner at this Noxubee County jail. We'll call her Felicia. So pretty. So pretty, Mac Knox. Irresistible. Sheriff Terry took a liking to her. And so he gives her special privileges, including cigarettes and a smartphone, while she's in jail, so he could keep in touch with his jailhouse crush. Is that like? That's nice. Kind of like puppy love.
Yeah.
So he would use Facebook Messenger to text her. And he began soliciting nude photos and videos from her cell, and she complied. She was a very good online girlfriend. And he was very complimentary about the state of her body. He said sweet things to her in the messages. Here's where it gets a little complicated. There was no evidence whatsoever that Sheriff Terry ever checked her out, and took her out for physical sex, which, of course, as we just discussed, would be a serious crime. But the FBI still receives a tip from another inmate about this kind of inappropriate relationship going on. So the two agents go to visit Sheriff Terry, pull him in, maybe they sit in his office, and Sheriff Terry lies. He lies and lies and lies, says none of this is true, this never happened. And I guess he forgot about kind of the electronic fingerprints that Facebook Messenger leaves behind. This isn't a very knowable thing. You just have to reach out for Facebook and subpoena the records, and you can get the text logs, which the agents did. So the only thing they really have Sheriff Terry on is this kind of inappropriate relationship. But what they charge him with is lying to an FBI agent.
Yeah.
Title 18, Section 1001. And it's a crime to lie to an FBI agent, something I reminded my kids of weekly growing up. So Sheriff Terry...
Every time something went wrong, I said, I'm asking you, and it's a crime to lie to me.
I tell them this, yeah.
Took me a while to get that, too.
So he loses his election because this is all out there and he's facing these charges. He ends up pleading guilty to the false statements to the FBI charge. And I'll tell you that the statutory maximum penalty for lying to an FBI agent is 5 years in prison. What do they give Sheriff Terry in this case?
I would say the moment you say lying to an FBI agent, I think 3 years. I know that it's like between 3 to 5, depends on how serious it is.
Yeah.
I would say between 3 to 5, but I'm going to say 1 year because when you were folding the paper, I saw the word one.
You're looking at my paper
You're gonna have
here.
to bring a. You're gonna have to do something next time. We're gonna have to have a little blinders or something.
Yeah.
Well,
How about this? How about this, Matt?
Folding it, I looked down, I saw one.
For the good of your own goddamn show, why don't you play along? You could also do that. Okay, well, here's this.
But as soon as you said it, I thought he's getting 3 years.
This is why you shouldn't look at someone else's paper. He got 1 day in prison.
Oh, okay.
He also got a fine of $2,500 and 6 months home detention.
That doesn't seem fair.
It should have been more?
Yeah, I think it should be. I think I would have said 3 years. I mean, I don't think you should. Well, also, by the way, I don't think that in an interrogation of any kind, I don't think that the government or the FBI should have the right to lie to a suspect. You know what I'm saying? But I think...
You think it should be an even playing field between...
Yeah, kind of, I do. But I definitely think that when you come in, if you're going to come in and you're going to start lying to me, I think that in and of itself.
Understand that that's not the case here, right? The agent sat down and asked him very specifically, "Have you?"
And he lied.
Yeah. Oh no. Right. The FBI agents are not lying to him.
No,
in this particular story.
No,
Okay,
I understand that we know what you did. That's a lie. That's not true. Oh, I'm going to talk to her.
Right.
I never this. I never
Exactly.
that. You're lying. Like, what are you doing? If that's your game plan, then just say, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't have to talk to you.
Right.
So I would have said, I'm not going to talk to you. But apparently lying to an FBI agent is 1 day in jail. That seems reasonable.
Well,
right?
Unless you're Martha Stewart, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's not. It's because he's a law enforcement, and that's or I don't know. I'm either he's cooperating, which there's no chance for him to cooperate.
No.
There's no criminal history. No, it doesn't make sense that he got that little time. It should be 3 years. I mean, you want to give him 2 years and a year. I mean, I still think it's 3 years. I don't think he gets any play at all. Because first of all, you know better.
Yeah.
You're a sheriff. You know better.
How bad do you think the conduct is? Is the conduct itself worth 3 years to you, or are you just offended that anyone would lie to an FBI agent? Because the lying to the FBI agent charge in this particular case, at least, is really just a Trojan horse for charging him with this underlying conduct. In fact, the agents probably say like, "Oh my God, I hope he lies to us," right? Because I'm not sure what the federal crime is for the. It's not really a civil rights violation. Maybe it is.
Introduction of contraband, like you gave her a cell phone,
cigarettes and a cell phone. But again, is that a federal crime?
No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not federal, but
right. We're talking about the county jail that he's the boss of, right? And to a certain extent gets to make the rules.
No.
I'm making his argument for him. But my point though is I don't know that there's an obvious federal crime here.
I don't. Well, other than lying to the FBI,
right.
Is there a federal
right?
crime?
That's what I'm saying.
So why did they even come and question him?
Because he's a corrupt sheriff.
Right, but you have a state. There's still the state law enforcement. Every state has its own kind of version of the FBI. They could have come and
evidently he had been a problematic sheriff in other ways and had and had kind of escaped justice from the state, from different state things, and he continue getting elected.
So they probably figure, bring in the FBI. He's going to lie to him. We know, they probably already know his history. He's going to blatantly lie. We're going to get him on the lie.
Not a bad plan.
Straight in, he goes to jail, and then he still gets. He must be friends with the judge.
Got 6 months home confinement.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't disagree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I think. And if you're concerned about his safety, because look, you don't want to send somebody to prison that's going to get killed, or beat up, or okay, then you could keep him in the county jail for a year. He gets a year. He still gets a year.
Yeah.
Put him in another county jail. Put him in a federal jail.
Yeah. There's options.
Yeah. I mean, you got a federal case. You can do if you said okay, but he should do jail time for sure.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your opinion on that. All right. So this one's a real puzzler because the plan was so brilliant.
Okay.
So brilliant. All right. So we got a 20-year-old guy. His name is Cy.
Have we hidden? Can we hide whatever is coming?
20-year-old guy.
Okay.
His name is Cy Kandula. Born in India, but a lawful permanent resident here in the U.S., green card holder. No immigration problems. Everything's squared away immigration-wise, right? Grows up here in the U.S., came over as a child into the USA. Lawful permanent resident. Just want to establish that. Lives in St. Louis, Missouri. So one day, he gets a one-way ticket from St. Louis to Dulles Airport in Northern Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. Okay. Flies from St. Louis across the country to Dulles Airport, takes an Uber to the local U-Haul place and rents a U-Haul truck. Big U-Haul truck. No cargo, but just the U-Haul truck. 9:35 that night, traveled all day long, gets it 9:35 at night. He drives the U-Haul to the White House where the U.S. president lives, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Matt Cox. Mm-hmm. And he rams the barriers surrounding the president's home with the U-Haul truck. The barriers hold.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not getting through those barriers.
He reverses. He's able to reverse it. Drives again, accelerates into those barriers, hoping that they'll buckle and break. They do not buckle. They do not break. The radiator shatters on the U-Haul truck. The vehicle's disabled. He's not done, though. Cy is not done, Matt Cox. He gets out of his truck and he removes a red Nazi swastika flag and he begins waving it around until and there's video of this, until the U.S. Park Service and the U.S. Secret Service jump on him, put the handcuffs on him, and arrest this young man. Now, the FBI is in charge of conducting the investigation after they kind of protect the president. Mm-hmm. The president at this time is the end of the Joe Biden term. Cy explains under interrogation.
Wait, can you say that again?
Joe Biden was president at the time.
Okay.
This is but the FBI gets the investigation. Secret Service and Park Service stop him. Uh-huh. Right, that's their job.
Yeah.
But when there's an attempt on the president's life, like with the Trump case when he was shot,
falls to the FBI.
The FBI conducts the investigation after the fact, right? So there's the protectors and then there's the investigators. The Secret Service will investigate threats against the president, but once that threat kind of becomes action, then it becomes the FBI's problem. I think that's how it works. Don't quote me on that. But bottom line is this: the FBI's case. They bring Cy in, Mirandize him, and he says he'll talk.
He say, "What's with the swastika?"
Here's Cy's plan. Here's the plan. He's a planner. He's a planner. His goal was to gain access to the White House, where he planned to seize political power and name himself the president of the United States, because that's how it works, Matt Cox. And he would replace the democratically elected government of the U.S. with a dictatorship fueled by the ideology of Nazi Germany, putting himself in charge. He was going to be our dictator. Cy was.
I'm going to mail him a book I've written called It's Insanity about Frank Amadeo wanting to take over the world.
He said that he intended to off the U.S. president in the process. We'll use the word off for YouTube purposes. And he's charged with destruction of government property.
Did he have any weapons?
No.
Other than the little flag?
No, it's kind of like capture the flag. If you can make it into the Oval Office,
you're going to plant his flag.
You get to be president. That's how it works, right? Then we learned that in civics class when we were kids. He's charged with destruction of government property. Let me give you some dollar amounts here. $5,000 damages. $5,000 in damages to the barrier that he owes the U.S. Park Service.
Didn't do anything.
$50,000 to the U-Haul. Destroyed that U-Haul truck. He owes U-Haul $50,000. So he pleads guilty to destruction of government property. How much time are you going to give Cy?
Isn't it funny? I just think you're like a nut. You didn't kill anybody.
Really? You think he's a nut?
Yeah. I definitely would think you would first start with the threatening the life of the president, which to me is super serious.
But let's keep in mind he's only pleading guilty to destruction of government property.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I think the idea is that he was so far removed from actually realizing his plan that the president was never really in danger. I think that's probably the logic of the prosecutors in allowing this plea. And let's also understand that he is not a U.S. citizen. So whenever he's done serving his sentence, he's going back to India under any president.
So I think that, if that's the charge you're being charged with.
It's the charge you pled guilty to.
They're going to go off of the dollar amount, which in this case is under $60,000.
$55,000.
Under $60,000.
Well, I think the judge needs to understand the judge certainly understood the totality of the circumstances, and probably watched the video of him waving the Nazi flag around at 9:35 at night in front of the White House.
I mean, he's nuts. I would probably have still taken it. Is he dangerous? I think he is dangerous. 5 years? It's not a lot of damage.
That's your guess? 5 years?
I mean, if you had said they were including threatening the president of the United States,
that was his intent.
I understand, but that's not what he pled guilty to. Now they'll take that into consideration.
That's correct.
Now you got me thinking maybe 10 years because 5 or 10.
I'm not trying to talk you out of it, buddy. I just want to make sure I understand what your final answer is.
5 or 10 years. In between there.
In between 5 and 10?
In between 5 and 10.
You want to pick a number between 5 and 10, or you just want to say between?
I want to say 5.
Between 0 and 100. That way you're right every time.
You're making me think. Like to me, I thought it was very serious. I was thinking
Matt,
this is very serious.
I don't want to influence you, buddy. I'm just asking the questions.
I want to say it's very. Here's what bothers me is that you could say, if you could take into consideration that he's insane, like clearly you're insane. The problem is you are insane, but you got yourself on a plane. You rented a U-Haul. You drove the U-Haul. You were almost like
you had a Nazi flag in your carry-on.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I mean, I would say if I was taking all that into consideration, I'd probably said 10 years. But I'm going to go with 5 because he didn't plead guilty to that. He only pled guilty to.
Destruction of government
property of under $55,000. That doesn't seem to me like a big charge.
And I think the judge also knows that at the end of this thing, he goes back to India and he's no longer our problem. And how much do you want to have the taxpayers paying for his care and feeding? He's also 20 years old.
Oh, he's a kid. He's just stupid. You kind of get a pass if you're stupid. Like I always say, you get a pass if you're women, children, and unfortunately retards. I feel like
are we allowed to say that?
No, I think we're allowed to say that.
Has that ever been decriminalized?
It's stupid people. I think Trump signed an executive order. We're allowed to say it again.
Decriminalizing that word?
I'd say 5 years.
Final answer?
Yeah.
8 years.
8 years?
8 years.
I should have stuck with
back to India.
5 and 10. No, 10 would have been closer. If they'd taken the threatening the life of the president more seriously, I probably would have said higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I knew a guy that got 7 years in the federal system for writing a letter to Bush, but he already had a long criminal history. He was in state prison.
Yeah,
and he there's no air conditioning. And I tell you this, there's no air conditioning in state prison. And so he was saying like how horrible it was. He was complaining to his cellies, and his cellie says, "You know what you need to do? You want to be in federal prison. They have air conditioning." And he was like, "Yeah." And they said, "You need to write a letter to the president. Commit a federal crime, they'll come get you and send you to federal prison." So he wrote a letter saying he was going to kill President Bush and his daughter, and he's going to kill.
Well, you better hope that your sentence is concurrent.
His daughters, and he was going to the dog, which I always like that part. And as a result of that, a Secret Service came and got him, and they charged him. And he went in front of the judge, and his lawyer's like, "Listen, this is what happened." Yeah. He explained about the AC, which to me, it's a reasonable argument. That's hot in Florida. And they explained, the judge was like, "Yeah, I get it. I understand what he was trying to do, but he still threatened the president."
So the dog was never in danger.
I don't think so. And I remember being irritated about
being
that.
Graped.
He got 7 years. They gave him 7 years.
7 years?
And I remember
because is it concurrent or consecutive? Does he have?
No, that was the problem. He sent him back and made him finish his state
that's
charge.
the problem.
And then
it's consecutive.
Like, don't take legal advice from your cellies.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to let you serve your state time in federal prison if your state time is already running. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. So, but I always liked the fact that he threw in the dog.
Yeah, well, he left his fingerprints on it.
You know what the problem with him was? This is a guy that if you talk to him, he couldn't have gotten himself to Washington, D.C. Like this guy could.
Yeah. Matt Cox, who was your hero growing up?
Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Matt or by clicking on the link below this video. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Matt. Or click on the link in the description box below to watch the video now. You won't believe how simple it is. Just remember, the legendary Chuck Norris is a whopping 85 years old, and he has more energy than me. He discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health simply by focusing on 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below, or go to chuckdefense.com/Matt.
Does it have to be real? Like, can it be Batman?
Dude, it's your show. It's your hero. It's your hero.
Frank Tarrington? What's his name?
What was?
Was it Fran Tarrington?
Fran Tarkington?
Fran Tarkington. Well,
Wasn't him.
Yeah. Which Broadway star was your hero? Since you didn't watch football.
I'd say it would be Batman or Iron Man.
All right.
Probably. You know why I liked both of them?
Tell me.
They were just rich guys with gadgets.
Okay,
So I used to think I could be that guy. If I just got rich and had the gadgets, I could be a superhero.
That's fair.
I don't like Superman because like I have to be born on a planet. Like that's not happening.
It's a whole other thing. Yeah.
And I'm not willing to be bitten by a radioactive spider to be Spider-Man.
It's asking a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, there's a guy, 21-year-old Chance Seneca of Lafayette, Louisiana, had a hero. And his hero was a guy named Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, my God. You know about Jeffrey Dahmer, right?
Are you kidding me? I just got finished writing a book about a serial killer.
Yeah, this is true. This is a good point. We're coming to the right place. See, he idolized Jeffrey Dahmer, and he all he ever wanted to do was to eat and preserve the bodies of his victims, just like Dahmer did. Oh, my God. So Chance becomes fixated on the fantasy of killing gay people. So he goes on the dating app Grindr. You're familiar with Grindr, right, Matt Cox?
I have heard about Grindr.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Making sure. We don't need to explain what Grindr is. It's like Tinder for gay guys. He picks up a dude that he meets on the app. And so Chance meets up with his date, and Chance kidnaps him at gunpoint and brings him to an abandoned house. Handcuffs the poor guy, and in the court documents it says he tried to murder him, but Chance failed. The victim somehow survived and escaped and lived to tell the tale. Must have been a terrible day for him. I mean, I'm nothing but compassion for this guy. Calls the cops. The cops call the FBI in to assist in the investigation. They immediately arrest Chance, right? Because there's only one suspect in this thing. And Chance says that he really wanted to be a serial killer of gay men. And he said, if you guys let me go, I'm going to continue my murder spree until I'm caught or killed by police. He explains this to the FBI agent in the interrogation.
Who's he killed so far?
Nobody. No, he's 0 for 1.
I was going to say,
He's
I'm
0
going
for
to
1.
continue what?
His name should be Ofer, yeah. But no, and he said he spent months devising his foolproof plan. But fortunately for gay dudes everywhere, Chance is a bit of a screw up.
Yeah.
And failed to pull off his first murder dismemberment, even though he probably really, really traumatized the poor guy he met on Grindr.
Right.
FBI charges him with civil rights violations, which is kind of a catch-all. Like when you're, when you're doing something horrible like that, you're also violating his civil rights. But the judge gets to take into account one's intention and the risk in that civil rights violation. And he pleads guilty. Chance pleads guilty to his civil rights charges in the Western District of Louisiana. How much time do you give Chance?
Tell me first about tell me about the guy. Did he actually? He lured the guy somewhere. Did he actually? And he kidnapped him and moved him.
Yes. Yeah. At gunpoint. Like they meet in a park to go for a romantic walk. Pulls a gun on him and says, "You're coming with me. Get in the car." Takes him to an abandoned building, like a haunted house.
Criminal history?
None. 21-year-old kid.
15 years.
15 years. Wanted to be a serial killer. Told the FBI he intended to continue killing gay people and eating them, Matt Cox. 15 years, your final answer?
Kidnapping. I think maybe 20? 15 to 20?
You're going to end with an L.
Am I? What is it?
It's 45 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What about the other guy that they kidnapped the guy and they moved the guy and to do the guns?
Yeah. Yeah. That's different than doing it to intend to be with your first step toward being a serial killer. It's a very different motivation. It's a very different crime. It's a very different.
So you think that statement that he made about like I plan to continue to do this?
I think intent matters, and I think if you tell the police that you intend that if you're let out, that you're going to keep going until you're killed by the police, that's the type of thing that a judge pays attention to. Rightfully so.
Maybe.
Yeah, 45 years.
I think he's got some mental health problems.
You think so?
Yeah. So I end with a lose, but overall I had a.
I want to say I would say about 9 for 12. roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you were in the
about
ballpark.
Close to 80%, 70%.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. We should give you like a 2-year.
Yeah, next year. Yeah, next time we're gonna need to define the rules. Like, okay, what do you have a year
Yeah.
leeway?
Yeah.
Like you
if
can't be more
there's-
than 10% off.
And you
Yeah.
can't give a
within-
5-year range. You got to give a 1 to 2 year range.
Oh yeah, I
or
mean, yeah,
something.
smart guy here. Oh, somewhere between 2 and 30 years. Yeah, Matt, you got it right. Congratulations, sir. You're a real genius.
Well, the one I was like, the one where I saw the one, and it was one day. I saw one. I was like, happened. You started to fold it over, and as you were folding, I saw one. The word one, and I thought, oh, he got 1 year.
Yeah. See, but had you not been biased by your own attempt to cheat at your own game, then
I would have said, yeah, but I said, it would have been. I would have said 3 to
you
5
said
years,
3.
right? Because he lied to the FBI. He lied, what's so funny is
I
that,
love the fact that you believe that lying to the FBI is such a serious crime. That makes me feel good.
Well, I think I didn't know it was a serious crime until you meet multiple people in prison and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, you can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to talk. Here's the thing. If you said no, you have to answer questions, but I don't have to talk to you.
Yeah.
That you can say, I want to go talk to my lawyer, but you think you're going to just lie your way out of it? Like, and because to me, I know if the FBI shows up and sits down and starts to have a conversation with you, they already know the answers.
I don't show up unless I have the answers before if
Right.
I'm asking a subject a question. Yeah.
Vastly different than state detectives who are showing up, who are typically trying to get people to help them put together the case.
Yeah.
The FBI tends to have already have or federal
That's- I mean,
authorities.
again, that's when you're interviewing the bad guy. When you're interviewing witnesses, I truly want to know what happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had police officers complain to me that they don't have that type of hammer.
Yeah. They don't have the
They're
resources.
well, it's illegal for them to lie to you. It's not illegal for me to lie to me. I was like, I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say the locals don't have the resources that the federal government have to put together an entire case. But also, what makes me think is that it's just got to be extremely boring. Like to me, if you said, "Hey, you can be a detective with the county, or you could be an FBI agent, and you're going to get paid the same," I'd be like, "Oh, I'll pick the county."
Why is that?
Because I feel like the FBI, it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of putting stuff together.
The paperwork is the same for a big city police detective working a similar type of case.
Well, I understand, but to me, I think that they tend to go out and start questioning people and talking. Like they're looking for somebody to help put together the case. Once they've got that they have those, then they go out and try and charge someone. Where the FBI does it different. The FBI will put together an entire case, and we know everything about it. Now we're going to go have a conversation with you, give you an opportunity to talk to us, and you say no, we're going to indict you. Now we indict you. Where to me, it's kind of the opposite.
So you're saying the police are more apt to arrest somebody and then try to build the case in time for trial, whereas the FBI will investigate and then arrest.
Yes, absolutely.
I think so too.
Okay.
I think, and I
But I
believe
think that's more fun.
the FBI side, the detective side.
The detective, we get to go out and arrest the guy and then put together the case. So
It's not just though. I mean, isn't it more just to investigate, build the probable cause?
We didn't say right or wrong. I'm saying what would be more, to me, which one would be more exciting? I get to go talk to the guy like, hey, this is what I heard. Boom, boom, what's going on? I get to talk to people
Yeah.
and put together a case, as opposed to I'm going to order this. I'm going to subpoena the records. I'm going to put together this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to compile all of this information. I'm going to try and build the case before I even have a conversation. Now, that's the smarter way to do it. I'm not saying it's not the smarter way.
Yeah.
I'm saying what seems like more fun.
Well, yeah, but that's not the goal of law enforcement.
Well, yeah, I get it. But, I'm trying to think like, which one would you rather do? Well, I'd rather go out and start questioning people. Do you know what happened? Do you know who so-and-so is? Do you know?
I mean, keep in mind, during the course of any FBI investigation that I've worked, you're talking to victims and witnesses a lot first, and then you're making a decision when it is most tactical to speak to the subject of the investigation. Sometimes that is very early in the investigation. It's not going to culminate in an arrest or charges, but I like to do my interrogations and confrontation of the subject just when I have enough information, because I don't want them catching wind of the investigation. I want the first time them learning about an FBI investigation is when I knock on their door, smile at them, and tell them that I just need some help. I got some questions. I want to understand your side of the story.
And let them bury themselves.
And let them bury themselves. Because they're not in custody. I don't have to Mirandize them.
Right.
We're going to share a plate of fries and talk about this awful situation that they find themselves in.
What else? Okay.
That's all I got for you, man.
That's it. Maybe. I don't know. I might have to rethink my FBI versus local detective thing here. I'm really thinking about it that way.
The FBI gets to choose their battles more also. Like the FBI rejects cases all the time. Like it's not the best use of our time. And I think the detectives are sort of, cases are thrust upon them more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think the detective probably has a more difficult job because they're not as well resourced and they're probably a lot more overloaded with cases than the typical agent.
Yeah, I definitely think that that they don't have the resources that the federal agents have.
If anybody needs any private investigative needs, where should they go?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That whole thing.
So I've been getting calls lately from Matt Cox viewers, and everyone's so nice. Your fans are the best. But sometimes they'll contact me because they have a need for a private investigator or they need that. And I'm always happy to take calls from Matt Cox people for a free consultation. So anyone who in the Matt Cox audience who needs a private investigator, I work in all 50 states, can contact me for a free consultation. And if they know someone who needs it, I will always make time for their referrals.
I saw you.
You don't want to throw in there, but if you don't have the ability to pay me,
Well,
don't waste.
The guy's got to eat.
Right. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. You don't have to lean back. You're not. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Please share the video. Also, if you want to follow Tom Simons and you want his services or anything else, we're going to leave all of his social media links in the description box. You can go there, click on it, follow him. He's huge on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok?
Yeah.
And he's got other platforms. So check those out. Follow him, subscribe. Really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.
See ya.
All right. Really quick. I'm just gonna have both of you say this because it's hard to remember who said what. So both of you say green and grass for weed.
Green grass.
Green grass.
Wait, I know what he said.
The K2.
It was Disney. He said Disney weed.
Disney weed.
You want him to say Disney
green?
So you can put the whole Disney green.
You can. You said it a couple times, so I'm gonna go back. But
Disney green. Disney green. Disney green.
And say you said they opened up a marijuana themed park.
Yeah.
Hold
on, give me a second. You can't say marijuana?
No. Well, yeah, we had a guy come on that talks about like medical weed or something, and that.
Can I say cannabis? Is that different?
I would just say green or grass. I think cannabis would be fine.
All right.
If you want to.
Well,
I don't think it'll be
you.
a big issue, but.
All right.
It's just gonna be
a green themed resort.
Yeah. A cannabis. If you say, I think the marijuana, I can leave it in there.
Do you say grass? A grass?
You can do this.
Who the fuck's gonna know what we're talking about?
A quote unquote.
Oh yeah.
You have to do air
They don't seem to care. Like.
All right. They were going to convert the lodge to a grass theme park.
Yeah, that should be good.
For people who wanted to get high and watch the Northern Lights.
Yeah. And then just say powder, Tom.
Powder.
You too, just in case.
Powder.
What did we say that was powder?
Someone said cocaine. Once or twice.
Not me.
Oh.
I don't touch